Tonight we present radio's most popular detective, Hall Temple, in Hall Temple Intervenes, a new serial play specially written for broadcasting by Francis Durbridge and produced by Martin C. Webster. Hall Temple Intervenes. Episode 1, The Marquis.
Listeners to our earlier bulletins will already have heard, we have with us in the studio this evening Sir Graham Forbes, Chief Commissioner of Police, who is to broadcast a special message to listeners both in this country and throughout the United States of America. Sir Graham Forbes.
8 months ago, in a little country lane about 2 miles from the village of Hampton in Arden, a man was found murdered. His name, a household name throughout the United States of America, was Myron Harwood. The constable who discovered the body has already told how, by the side of the dead man, he found a small, square piece of white cardboard bearing the inscription, The Marquis. Yes, that was 8 months ago. And since then, there have been 7 murders. 7 unsolved murders. 7 small pieces of white cardboard, each bearing the same insidious inscription, The Marquis. I am authorized to state that a free pardon will be given to any person other than one actually guilty of willful murder, providing that the said person will furnish the information and evidence necessary to ensure the arrest and conviction of the man or woman known as the Marquis.
Blimey, if this is the Thames, you know what you can do with it.
I told you you'd see a bit of art from the river, didn't I?
Oh, what a night. I'm fit for a dog.
How long have you been in the force?
Me? 17 years.
Blimey, you've got longer whiskers than I have.
Yeah, I joined in August 1925. I was with the OCC before that. Very tedious it was. Very tedious.
Well, for sheer blooming tediousness, you won this job, mate. Up and down the Thames, night after night. Night after night. Been on it now for 12 years and a half. And I've never yet seen...
What's that? What is it?
Look. No. Over there.
Sorry.
Yes, get her on board. Right. No, I'll swing over the side. And slow her down. Slow her down.
There's no hurry, mate. Not if I'm any judge. She's a goner. Been in the water for hours. Sue, look at her. Here, careful. Careful, you'll fall in.
Is she dead?
Yes. Pretty looking kid even now, isn't she?
Yeah. Well, she can't be much older than...
What is it? What are you looking at?
Well, it's something pinned to her dress. It's a card of some sort.
What?
What's it say?
It says, The Marquis.
Gentlemen, please. Now, Chief Inspector, I think it's your turn to make a statement.
There's been too many statements made during the last 4 weeks, Sir Graham. What we want is action. And by gosh, we want it now, before it's too late.
It's all very well talking about action, Bradley, but do you realize...
Do you realize, my dear Chief Inspector Street, that 7 people have been murdered? 7 people? And on each occasion...
Oh, damn.
Hello? I told you not to interrupt me, Dixon. What? When did this happen? I see. Yes, all right. Yes, bring me back as soon as you find out.
Well, as I said, Street, 7 people have been murdered on every occasion they've been used.
I hate to contradict you, Superintendent, but 8 people have been murdered.
What's this?
They picked a girl out of the river just over an hour ago. They found a small square of white cardboard pinned to her dress. It had 2 words on it.
The Marquis?
Yes, Ross, the Marquis.
Have they identified the girl?
Not yet.
They haven't identified her?
No.
That's odd, isn't it?
What do you mean?
Well, give the boys a chance. They only picked the girl out of the river an hour ago.
Yes, but don't you see? All the other people, all the other victims of the Marquis were well known. Celebrities, in fact. They were identified immediately. Myron Harwood, Sir Dennis Sprinton, Carlton Rogers, Lady Hamilton.
Yes, that's true enough. I hadn't thought of that.
I beg your pardon, sir, but...
Yes, what is it, Sergeant?
This note was delivered by hand, sir. It was marked urgent and strictly confidential, so I...
Yes, thank you, Sergeant, thank you.
Nothing wrong, Sir Graham, is there?
No. Only this note happens to be from Paul Temple.
Paul Temple?
I thought Paul Temple was in America.
He was, but... Well, I'd better read you this note. Dear Sir Graham, Steve and I have arrived back from the States. Why don't you dine with us tomorrow evening? Shall look forward to seeing you. Kindest regards, Paul Temple. P.S. Is it true what they say about Rita?
Is it true what they say about Rita?
Rita?
Who the devil's Rita?
Sir Graham.
Yes?
You don't think the Home Secretary's been in touch with Temple?
Hello. Yes? Yes, Dixon? Yes? I see. Thank you. They've identified the girl. Her name was Cartwright.
Cartwright?
Yes? Rita Cartwright. My dear Temple, I know what I'm talking about. I read your last novel. The detective was a bigger fool than ever.
By Timothy, he had to be, Sir Graham. He was practically the chief commissioner.
Darling, please.
Cigar, Sir Graham.
Ah, thank you. We got your message.
Yes?
Yes,
Light?
thank you. Now, what did you mean exactly by, is it true what they say about Rita?
Well, for the last 18 months, you know, I've been in America, Sir Graham, attached to the sea branch of the MOI.
Yes, Colonel Randall told me.
Well, while I was over there, the newspaper started a terrific, well, I suppose we'd call it a front-page story about this person called the Marquis. First, I thought the whole business was grossly exaggerated, but one morning, about a fortnight ago, I received a cable from the Home Secretary. And I knew then...
You knew then that things were pretty serious, eh?
Yes. Sir Graham, so far as my own position is concerned, I'd like to be perfectly frank with you.
There's no reason why you should feel at all embarrassed by this, Temple. The Home Secretary sent for you. And he sent for you for a very good reason. Because we at Scotland Yard need your help.
Well, strange though it may seem, I'm relieved to hear you say that. After all, I had no wish to intervene, Sir Graham.
Don't talk nonsense, darling. You know perfectly well that you've every intention of intervening.
Darling.
And you still haven't told Sir Graham about Rita Cartwright.
Ah, no. And I'm rather interested to hear about Rita Cartwright, Temple.
Well, Rita Cartwright is a rather impetuous young lady, Sir Graham, who, to put it bluntly, fancies her chances as a private detective. A month or so ago, she started to make certain inquiries about the Marquis and, why, what is it?
What's the matter?
Rita Cartwright's dead.
Dead?
She was picked out of the Thames shortly after 8:30 last night. Her body was identified by a man called Roger Story.
By Timothy.
You mean that you... Oh, how horrible.
Temple, do you remember a queer, boastful little bounder by the name of Sammy Wren?
Yes. Yes, I remember Sammy Wren.
I told Bradley to pick up Sammy Wren about a fortnight ago, but nothing came of it. You know, I've got a hunch that Sammy might know something. He's a queer little devil, but he covers a lot of territory.
Yes.
Why are you smiling?
Do you know a small public house near the Elephant Castle called the Golden Cage?
The Golden Cage. No, I can't say I do. Why do you ask?
Because I'm going there tonight, Sir Graham, and by Timothy, I'm rather looking forward to it.
Really?
Yes. 2 minds with but a single thought, eh, Sir Graham?
What do you mean?
Well, can't you guess? I'm meeting Sammy Wren. I'm meeting Sammy Wren.
So So this is where you spend your leisure moments, Mr. Temple.
Don't be silly, darling. All my leisure moments are spent with an exotic blonde in Bradford. You know that.
Beast.
What would you like to drink?
I should love a dry martini.
Yes, so should I. We'll have 2 pints of pale ale.
Oh.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening. Would you get us, why, God bless my soul, if it isn't Dolly Fraser.
The name's Smith. Betty Smith.
Smith? Not one of the Berkshire Smiths.
Yes, one of the Berkshire Smiths. And what can I get you?
2 half pints of pale ale, Miss Smith. The paler, the better.
Thank you.
Thank you.
You know her?
Of course I know her. Her name's Dolly Fraser. She used to be mixed up with the Regan mob.
That's quite right, Mr. Temple. Her name is Fraser, and she did used to be mixed up with the Regan mob. Forgive me if I'm intruding, but I couldn't help overhearing your remark. Her name is Ross, Inspector Ross, CID.
Why, of course, Inspector. How are you? I'm afraid I didn't recognize you. Do you know my wife?
No, I don't think I've had that pleasure. How do you do, Mr. Temple?
How do you do, Inspector?
Will you have a drink?
Thank you, no. I ought to have been home ages ago. I regret to say, Mr. Temple, this is an off-duty visit.
All the more reason for having a drink.
No, really, I mustn't. Good night, Mrs. Temple.
Good night, Inspector.
Good night, sir.
Good night, Inspector.
Inspector Ross. Is he one of the new people at the yard?
No, he's been there for ages. He used to be attached to the fingerprint department until Bradley took over.
Oh.
I don't think they saw eye to eye, or, well, anyway, Forbes transferred him, you know. They say he's quite an intelligent fellow. Ah, here's our Berkshire friends again.
2 half pints.
Thank you.
Mr. Temple,
Huh?
I'm sorry I was rude just now.
Oh, that's all right, Dolly. It is, Dolly.
Yes, of course it is, Mr. Temple. Silly of me to deny it.
Yeah.
I knew you'd spotted me the moment you came in here. Whatever are you doing in this part of the world, Mr. Temple?
Well, I'm waiting for an old friend of ours, Dolly, Sammy Wren.
Sammy Wren.
Yes, Sammy Wren.
Oh. I haven't seen Sammy for ages. Nothing wrong, I hope?
No, there's nothing wrong, Dolly. No. How about joining us on a drink?
Oh, well, if it's all same to you, dearie, I'd like a pink gin.
And why not? So you haven't seen Sammy? Not recently, I mean.
No, Mr. Temple, not for a week or 2 at least. Used to be in here pretty regular at one time.
Yes, so I believe. Well, you look prosperous, Dolly.
Oh, I'm all right. Got a good job, you know. The boss is very good to me here, very good he is. Quite a gent, in fact.
Oh, I'm glad. You don't seem to be getting on very well with your pale ale, darling.
I'm not getting on at all well with it.
Oh, now, let me get you a gin and tonic, Mrs. Temple. More in your line, I'm sure.
Thank you.
Do you happen to have heard anything about this fellow all the newspapers are talking about? Do you, Dolly? I mean the Marquis?
I only know what I read in the papers. And I don't always believe that. Look here, why the blazes should I know anything about him? You're the second person that's asked me that in a week.
Oh? Who was the first?
Young chap called Roger Story. He's been snooping around here for days asking blasted questions. I wouldn't put up with him if it wasn't for the fact that he's, well, he's got quite away with him.
Roger Story?
Why, that's the man Sir Graham mentioned. The young man that identified Rita Cartwright.
Yes.
Oh, Mr. Temple. Sorry to have kept you waiting.
Oh, hello, Sammy.
Didn't get your message till late last night. Hello, Dolly. How's Trix?
Oh, this is my wife, Sammy. I don't think you've met.
Why, no. I've never had that pleasure. How do you do, Mrs. Temple? How do you do?
Well, let's go into the back
Sammy.
parlor, shall we? We can talk better in there.
Well, look here, Mr. Temple. I was supposed to see a bloke in the West End soon after 8, and it's gone that now. Do you think we could have our little chat tomorrow morning sometime?
Where are you meeting your friend?
Percy's Snack Bar. It's just off the Haymarket.
Oh, well, I'll run you there in the car, and we can talk on the way.
Oh, okay. Good night, Jolly.
Cheerio, Doc. Good night, Mrs. Temple.
Good night, darling.
And keep the change, Dolly, and keep out of mischief.
You bet. Now, what was yours? 2 off the mark.
What is it you wanted to see me about, Mr. Temple?
Can't you guess?
Blowed if I can. As soon as I got your notes, I said to myself, blimey, something's in the wind, or he wouldn't be writing to a blinking tea leaf like Sammy Wren.
What do you know about the Marquis, Sammy?
The Marquis?
Yes.
Nothing. I don't know nothing about him. And if you take my tip...
Oh, do be careful, darling.
It's the steering it. Oh, that's better. How you were saying, Sammy?
I was saying I don't know anything about him. Not a blasted thing, and that's the truth.
The whole truth and nothing but the truth, eh,
Now,
Sammy?
listen, Mr. Temple, you know me.
I wouldn't hold out on you, not for all the blinking money in China.
I'm sure you wouldn't.
You know, that's funny. You're the second bloke that's asked me about the Marquis. Chap turned up with a golden cage about a week or so ago and wanted to know if I'd ever... Yes. Yes, I'd forgotten about him. Nice-looking young chap. Said his name was Roger Story. Look here, Mr. Temple. Is he a razzer? Because if he is, I'll...
Pull over, darling. There's a lorry. He wants to pass you.
Blimey, he's a 3-tonner. Pull over, mate.
Well, there's something the matter with the steering, unless...
Look out!
He's forcing you over, Paul.
Now, get down, Steve. For Pete's sake, get down.
Look out! Look out, for the love of Mike! Get that over!
Get down, Steve.
Paul. Paul, are you all right?
Yes, darling. How about you?
I'm all right.
Oh. Where's Sammy? Lord, he's under the bonnet.
Here's someone coming. He'll give you a hand.
I say, you two all right? I was on the other side of the road and...
There's somebody under the bonnet. We've got to move the car over. Good Lord. What's the matter?
Well, aren't you Paul Temple?
Yes.
I say, what an extraordinary coincidence. I've been trying to get in touch with you all the evening.
Really?
Yes. Oh, I beg your pardon. My name's Story. Roger Story.
Who is the Marquis?
You've been listening to episode 1 of the new Paul Temple serial, Paul Temple Intervenes, with Carl Bernard as Paul Temple. Listen next Friday at 6:40 to episode 2, concerning Sir Felix Reybourn.
Paul Temple Intervenes, a new serial play by Francis Durbridge, produced by Martin C. Webster. Episode 2, concerning Sir Felix Reybourn.
Paul Temple, a celebrated novelist and private detective, is investigating a series of murders committed by a notorious criminal known as the Marquis. Temple discovers that another man by the name of Roger Story is also making inquiries concerning the Marquis. And Temple makes Roger's acquaintance after a motor car smash, in which both Temple and his wife, Steve, are involved.
He's forcing you over, Paul.
Get down, Steve. Get down. For Pete's sake, get down.
Look out! Look out! For the love of Mike, get that over!
Get down, Steve.
Paul! Paul, are you all right?
Darling, how about you?
I'm all right, darling.
Where's Sammy? Oh, my God, he's under the bonnet.
Here's someone coming. He'll give you a hand.
I say, are you two all right? I was on the other side of the road.
There's someone under the bonnet. We've got to move the car over.
But, good Lord.
Why, what's the matter?
Well, aren't you Paul Temple?
Yes.
I say, well, what an extraordinary coincidence. You know, I've been trying to get in touch with you all the evening.
Really?
Yes. Oh, I beg your pardon. My name's Story. Roger Story.
Roger Story?
Look, Mr. Story, there's a man under that bonnet, and we've got to get him out.
Brother, I'll get round the other.
I can get him out now if you can hold it. Can you?
Be quick, old boy. I say this is some weight.
Okay, all right, you can let go.
Oh,
Is he badly hurt?
Yes. Yes, I'm afraid so.
I say, where the devil is the fellow who drove the lorry? I haven't seen him, have you?
No. And I've got a hunch that we shan't.
Oh, there's a constable near the lorry, darling. I don't think he can see us.
We're over the other side, officer.
Okay. My word, this is a pretty nasty smash, sir. Is anybody hurt?
Yes. We had a passenger with us, constable, but I'm afraid he's...
Oh, Paul, he's not...
Look out, she's going to faint. It's all right. I've got her.
No, I'm all right, Paul.
This blackout's such a nuisance you can't see what you're doing. Is this young lady your wife, sir?
Yes, if you'll flash your torch down, I'll show you my identity card.
Thank you, sir. Oh, I'm sorry, sir. I didn't recognize you.
Oh, that's all right. Is there an hotel around here, somewhere near?
Yes, sir. The Regency, about 50 yards up on the right-hand side.
Oh, thank you. Would you mind taking my wife to the hotel, Mr. Story? I'll join you later.
Yes, rather.
I shan't be long, darling.
Yes, all right.
We'll be in the lounge. What you need, Mrs. Temple, is a jolly good double brandy. I get I could do with one myself.
Oh, that's better. What's happened to the lorry driver? He seems to have completely disappeared in thin air. I don't like the look of this steering, sir. Funny sort of accident, Mr. Temple, this, if you ask me. Funny sort of accident altogether.
One large whiskey and soda, a large brandy and ginger ale, and a lager beer. That'll be 8 and 3, sir. Oh, thank you, sir.
Here we are, darling.
Oh, thank you.
Mr. Story.
Oh, thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Now, suppose you tell us your side.
My side of the story. Well, I'm dashed if I know quite where to begin.
Supposing you take your time and begin at the beginning.
Mrs. Temple, did you ever meet a girl called Alice Mapleton?
Alice Mapleton? Yes, I think I did. A tall, dark, rather attractive girl.
Yes.
We met at a party about 2 years ago.
Lady Alice Mapleton? She was the first girl that was murdered. By the Marquis, I mean. They found her body...
They found her body on the bank of a stream. About 4 miles from Richmond. She'd been strangled. We were engaged, you know.
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know that.
Oh, how dreadful for you.
That was just over 4 months ago. 4 months. Seems almost 4 years now. When I think about it.
Tell me, was your fiancée worried at all, or...
Yes. Yes, she was. Terribly worried. Alice was always a moody sort of person. I suppose you'd call her temperamental, really. The night before it happened, I had quite a row with the poor darling. She'd been so irritable and, well, terribly difficult to get on with. I realize now, of course, why she was like that.
You mean that she was being blackmailed?
Yes. Yes, she was being blackmailed. He's a cunning sort of a devil, you know, Temple. He blackmails his victims until they can stand it no longer, and then...
Sir Graham Forbes tells me that you identified the body of a girl called Rita Cartwright. Is that true?
Yes. Yes, after Alice was murdered, I was so desperate, and I suppose almost out of my mind, that I started making, well, I suppose you might call them investigations of my own.
Uh-huh.
It wasn't that I hadn't any faith in the police or Scotland Yard or Sir Graham Forbes, but I had to do something about it myself.
Yes, I understand.
Well, after I'd made rather a fool of myself on one or two occasions, I decided to enlist the services of a girl I knew. A girl called Rita Cartwright. She'd always been a very big friend of Alice's, and to be quite frank, rather fancied herself as a sort of private detective.
Yes, I knew Miss Cartwright slightly. She was an impetuous sort of girl, but not by any means a fool.
Mr. Story, why do you think Rita Cartwright was murdered?
Shall I tell you why, Mrs. Temple? Because she'd found out something. Because she'd found out something about a man called Sir Felix Reybourn.
Sir Felix Reybourn?
Yes.
You mean Sir Felix Reybourn, the Egyptologist?
Yes.
What did she find out about Sir Felix?
Mr. Temple, before I answer your wife that question, would you Would you mind telling me something?
Well, that rather depends what it is.
Tell me, do I strike you as being a rather frightened sort of person?
No. No, I don't think so. Nervous, yes, but not frightened is the story. No, not frightened.
Well, I am frightened, Temple. Desperately, hellishly frightened. During the past 6 months, there have been 4 attempts on my life. That's why I wanted to get in touch with you. I wanted to tell you everything I know. Everything Rita Cartwright knew. About the Marquis.
Who is the Marquis? You know?
I'm not sure. But I think
You think it might be Sir Felix Reybourn?
2 days before Alice was murdered, she paid Sir Felix a visit. I don't know why. I've never been able to find out. 24 hours before the police discovered the body of Carlton Rogers on the beach at New Haven, he had dined with Sir Felix at his house in St. John's Wood. And the last person to see Myron Harwood alive, Mrs. Temple, was Sir Felix Reybourn.
Are you sure of these facts?
Absolutely certain.
Who discovered them?
Rita Cartwright discovered them, Mr. Temple. And in my opinion, that's why she was murdered.
All right, darling, I got my keys.
Just a minute, Paul. The door isn't locked.
11:30. Surely Price hasn't... Oh, hello, Price.
Good evening, sir. Sir Graham Forbes is here, sir, and Superintendent Bradley. They're in the library, sir.
Oh, Sir Graham Forbes.
They must have heard about the accident.
Are you all right, madam? I
Yes,
overheard Sir
yes,
Graham
thank
say
you,
something
Price.
about a motor car.
Oh, we're all right, Price. Will you bring some coffee?
Very good, sir.
Ah, so here you both are, at last.
This is an unexpected pleasure, Sir Graham.
It can't be much of a pleasure, my dear, not at this time of night. Oh, I beg your pardon. Do you know Superintendent Bradley?
How do you do, Superintendent?
How do you
No,
do?
Do sit down, please.
They telephoned through to the yard about the accident, Mr. Temple, and...
Yes. I don't think accident is quite the right word, Bradley. Still.
No, that was my impression.
I was sorry to hear about Sammy Wren. He was a queer little devil, but I'm afraid I'd got rather a sneaking regard for him.
Was Sammy able to tell you anything, Temple, about...
About the Marquis?
Yeah.
No. But oddly enough, he did tell me something about a man called Roger Story.
Yes. We know Story. He's a decent young fellow, but something of a nuisance at times.
Yes, I can well imagine that.
Lady Alice Mapleton was his fiancée, you know. She was the
Yes,
first...
she was the first girl to be murdered. Yes, I know. Sir Graham, tell me, do you believe that we are up against not only this person who calls himself, or herself, the Marquis, but...
A definite criminal organization?
Yes.
Yes. Yes, Temple, I do. And if you want to know my opinion, it's an organization which is held together by one thing, and one thing only. Blackmail.
In other words...
In other words, Steve, find the Marquis, and your organization will tumble like a house of cards.
Yes, you may be right, Sir Graham. Tell me, have you heard of a man called Sir Felix Reybourn?
Sir Felix Reybourn? Why, yes, of course. He's an Egyptologist. Lives in St. John's Wood. Rather a queer bird, judging from all accounts. Why do you ask?
I ask, Sir Graham, because I'm given to understand that 2 days before Lady Alice Mapleton was murdered, she paid Sir Felix a visit. That 24 hours before the police discovered the body of Carlton Rogers, he had dined with Sir Felix at his home in St. John's Wood. And that the last person to see Myron Harwood alive was Sir Felix Reybourn.
Great Scott, are you sure of this, Temple?
They're facts which can be easily verified. Sir
Yes,
Graham.
and they will be verified, too. I'll see to that. Sir Felix Reybourn.
We still haven't told Mr. Temple the real reason of our visit, sir.
Oh, no, of course. When I arrived home tonight, this note was waiting for me. Why it wasn't delivered to the yard, I can't imagine. Anyway, it's from a man called Roddy Carson. Do you remember him?
Roddy Carson?
Yeah.
Yes, I remember Roddy Carson. He's a tough, illiterate little bounder. He served a term in 1929 for dope peddling.
Yes, that's Roddy Carson. I'd better read you the note. Dear Sir Graham, I heard your broadcast the other night, and as I'm wondering if you was on the level. If you was on the level, and I can trust you, meet me at Forest Glen tonight at 12:30. I shall be waiting near the clump of trees about a mile from the road. There is something I must tell you. Roddy Carson.
Have you tested this for fingerprints, Bradley?
Yes, we checked it up. Roddy Carson sent the note all right.
Where is Forest Glen?
It's about 6 miles the other side of Hampstead Heath, Steve.
Ross should be there by now, sir.
Yes.
Ross?
I contacted the yard straight away. I've got Inspector Ross and 2 of the flying squad units on the job. I thought we'd join them later, Temple.
We saw Inspector Ross at the Golden Cage, didn't we, Paul?
Inspector Ross? At the Golden Cage?
Yes.
Why, Ross lives out Wimbledon way. What the devil would he be doing near the Elephant and Castle? I told the boys to pick him up at his home. I hope to goodness they haven't missed him.
Yes. Yes. I hope so, too.
Is that you, Ross?
He's over on the right, isn't he?
Oh, good evening, Sir Graham.
Good evening, Inspector.
How long have you been here?
Oh, I say about 3/4 of an hour. We formed a patrol circle right round the glen, sir, with Smith, Wardener, Hale, Dixon, and myself.
Good. You haven't seen anyone?
No, sir, not a soul.
Hello, Inspector.
Why? Hello, Mr. Temple. Didn't see you. This is a surprise, sir.
Yes. Yes, isn't it? No rest for the wicked? Hey, Ross?
Apparently not, sir.
Which way do you think Roddy Carson will come?
Well, it's difficult to say. There's a clump of trees about 50 yards down there on the left-hand side, and then there's another batch higher up here. And
what is it?
What I hear? Yes, someone coming.
Paul, is that you?
Darling, you are the limit. I told you to wait in the car.
You'd forgotten your torch, darling.
I hadn't forgotten it, Steve.
Sorry, darling, but
Shh.
I had...
Did you hear that?
What?
Well, I'm blowed if I could hear anything. You will, Sir Graham, you will. Now, listen. Well, I may be deaf, but I can't...
I heard that all right.
Quiet. It's near those trees, Ross. I'll swear it is.
But I've just come from that direction, sir. I never saw anyone.
No, you wouldn't see him.
What do you mean? How could I help seeing him if he
You
was...
don't mean he's hanging from one of those trees?
Oh, darling.
What are we waiting for heaven's sake? No, you stay with Mrs. Temple, Radley. You come with me, Ross?
Yes, sir. Poor devil. No wonder I never saw him.
All right, I'll give you a hand.
All right. Good.
Come on now. Over right.
No.
Right.
I've got some brandy in the car, Temple.
Yeah, there's no need for brandy, Sir Graham, I'm afraid.
Poor devil.
Do you recognize him, sir?
Yes. Yes, this is Roddy Carson, all right.
He must have been taken by surprise, sir. He's got a revolver. Well, it's extraordinary.
What's the matter?
Well, there's a wallet here with, 17 pounds and hasn't been touched by the look of things.
What's that envelope you've just taken from his pocket?
Oh, it's empty.
Yeah, there's something scribbled on the back, isn't there?
Yes. Looks as though he's jotted something down. It's a name and address. Look, could you bring your torch over here, sir? And... that's better.
Good Lord, Temple, look. Look what it says.
Sir Felix Reybourn, 492 Maupassant Avenue, St. John's Wood.
Sir Felix Reybourn? What the devil are you smiling at, Temple?
I was just thinking, Sir Graham. Fancy Roddy Carson being able to spell Maupassant.
Is the Marquis?
You've been listening to episode 2 of the new Paul Temple serial, Paul Temple Intervenes, with Carl Barnard as Paul Temple. The part of Steve was played by Bernadette Hodgson, Roger Story by Sidney Taffler, a constable by Chris Gittins, a waiter by Hal Bryant, Price by David Compton, Sir Graham Forbes by Lester Muddett, Superintendent Bradley by Godfrey Baisley, and Inspector Ross by Edgar Norfolk. Production by Martin C. Webster.
Paul Temple Intervenes, a new serial play by Francis Durbridge, produced by Martin C. Webster. Episode 3, Kellaway Manor.
Paul Temple, the celebrated novelist and private detective, is investigating a series of murders committed by a notorious criminal known as the Marquis. Late one night, Paul Temple, together with Steve, his wife, and Sir Graham Forbes, Chief Commissioner of Police, and members of the flying squad, visit a deserted glen on the outskirts of Hampstead Heath. Here, they are to await the arrival of a man called Roddy Carson. On arrival at the glen, however, they discover to their astonishment that Roddy Carson has already arrived and has been murdered.
What's that envelope you've just taken from his pocket?
Oh, it's empty.
There's something scribbled on the back, isn't there?
Yes, looks as though he's jotted down something. Name and address. Could you bring your torch over here, sir? Oh, yes, that's better.
Great Scott, Temple, look! Look what it says.
Sir Felix Reybourn, 492 Maupassant Avenue, St. John's Wood.
Sir Felix Reybourn.
What the devil are you smiling at, Temple?
I was just thinking, Sir Graham. Fancy Roddy Carson being able to spell Maupassant.
We must have passed the house, darling. This is Maupassant Avenue, I suppose?
Yes, but I don't see how we could have passed it.
Well, there's 489 on the other side. So obviously...
Oh, here it is, Steve.
There isn't any number.
No, but this is it, all right.
Paul, what are you going to say to him? I'm sure it would have been much better if you'd written to him first or telephoned.
Darling, don't be stupid. I've already told you what I'm going to say. I'm writing a novel about Egypt, and I want to check up on certain facts. Since Sir Felix is a noted Egyptologist, why, surely...
Sounds awfully corny to me, darling.
Well, what do you mean, corny?
Well, you could go to the British Museum.
Of course, I could go to Egypt.
Yeah. This is a much bigger house than it looks, I should imagine.
Yes.
Oh, here's the bell. Shall I ring it?
Yes.
Sounds deserted to me.
Yes, I'll bet a fiver the old boy's away. Now, wait a minute. Wait.
There's someone coming.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon. I'm so sorry if I disturbed you. My name is Temple, Paul Temple, and I was wondering if Sir Felix would be kind enough to...
Would you mind stepping this way, Mr. Temple?
Oh, thanks very much.
Excuse me, I'll put the light on. It's rather dark in here. Ah, that's better. This way, sir. And madam?
Thank you.
I'll tell Sir Felix you're here, sir. I don't think he'll keep you waiting long.
Oh, well, she seems a dear old bird anyway.
I say, darling, what an extraordinary room. I've never seen so many books.
Yes, well, pretty good, aren't they? By Timothy, they're beautifully bound. A lovely collection.
What are they? Translations from the Portuguese?
No, they're not. Well, I'm damned.
What's the matter?
Why, they're all detective novels.
Oh, don't be silly.
Darling, I tell you they are. Why, look for yourself. Look.
Good heavens, so they are.
I say, what a collection. Dorothy Sayers, Agatha Christie, E. Phillips Oppenheim, Freeman Wills Croft, Edgar Wallace, Edgar Allan Poe. By Timothy, they're all here.
I don't see any of yours, darling.
You will, Mrs. Temple. If you raise your head slightly and look a little to the left. Oh, forgive me if I startled you.
Sir Felix Reybourn.
Yes?
You probably think this visit is highly presumptuous of us, Sir Felix, but, well, we happen to be passing and...
Yes?
Yes. Well, the fact of the matter is, sir, I'm writing a novel about Cairo. Not Cairo as it is today, under modern...
Oh, Mr. Temple, please, there's no reason to offer an excuse for this visit. I'm only too delighted to see you and to make your acquaintance. As a matter of fact, Mr. Temple, I've been expecting you. I've been expecting you. Oh, do sit down, Mrs. Temple. I've told my housekeeper we shall want some tea.
Please don't go to any trouble, Sir Felix.
Oh, nonsense. It's no trouble, I assure you. I'm very fond of tea, Mrs. Temple. Do sit down, sir.
Oh, thank you. What did you mean just now when you said...
When I said that I was expecting you?
Yes.
Mr. Temple, correct me if I am mistaken, but you are engaged in investigating a series of murders committed by an unknown and somewhat melodramatic individual known as the Marquis. During the course of your investigations, you have discovered, or shall we say, you have been made aware of certain salient facts. They are briefly as follows. Now, 48 hours before...
48 hours before Lady Alice Mapleton was murdered, she paid you a visit. 24 hours before the police discovered the body of Carlton Rogers, he
had paid me the honor of dining with me, yes. Yes, that's quite true. I believe that I was also the last person to see Myron Harwood alive, Mr. Temple.
Well, Sir Felix, doesn't that strike you as being rather a remarkable coincidence?
Remarkable coincidence seems to me, if I may say so, rather an understatement, Mr. Temple.
Now, what do you mean?
What do I mean? Now, if I were the Marquis, Mr. Temple, if I were the man Sir Graham Forbes and the entire personnel of Scotland Yard were looking for, do you think that I should be such a fool as to see Lady Alice Mapleton 48 hours before I murdered her? Do you imagine that I should dine with Carlton Rogers 24 hours before I intended leaving the poor devil dead on the beach at Newhaven? And do you think that I should be such a sheer, utter nincompoop as to be the last man to see Myron Harwood alive? Oh, now, Mr. Temple, I ask you, as a writer of detective novels, I ask you, is it likely?
I see your point.
I hope so, Mr. Temple. I sincerely hope so. Ah, tea. Splendid, splendid. Over here, Mrs. Clarence, over here.
Yes, all right, Sergeant.
Oh, I expect Temple will get a bit of a shock when he finds me at Scotland Yard.
He'll certainly get a shock when he sees the condition you're in, Mr. Story. Isn't that arm painful?
Oh, it's not too bad. When I can keep it still.
Mr. Temple, sir.
I got your message, Sir Graham, after... Hello, Story. But I say, what the devil's the matter with you?
Things have been happening since our meeting last night, Temple.
Why, Timothy, I can see that. I say, old boy, that arm looks pretty nasty.
Oh, well, it might have been worse.
Did you see Sir Felix Reybourn this afternoon, sir?
Yes, I saw Sir Felix, but... what's been happening here?
I think perhaps you'd better tell Temple exactly what happened in your own words, Story.
Oh, yes, all right, Sir Graham.
And tell Bradley to bring the boy back up here again, Ross.
Yes, sir.
Right.
Well, when I saw you last, Temple, I told you, didn't I, that accidents were always happening to me? Well, as you can see for yourself, I've had another accident today. This morning I took my car out and went down to Canterbury. On the way back, about a half a mile past the new bypass road, much the same thing happened to me that happened to you and Mrs. Temple. A car came out of a side turning and made straight for me. I didn't know what to do. Then suddenly I made up my mind. I swung the car round and made straight for the blighter. There was a young man driving the other car. It was a large six-cylinder Packard. I could see it was taken by surprise. Well, as the car toppled over into the ditch, he scrambled free and made a dash for it. By this time, I was feeling pretty groggy. But, well, to cut a long story short, I went after the swine.
Did you catch him?
Yes, I caught him all right.
Oh, good for you.
His name's Slater, Derek Slater. As far as we can gather, he's an actor. He's certainly a very highly strung young man. I shouldn't think he's much above 23 or 4, although he says he's 30.
Will he talk?
Not a word. At least Bradley can't get anything out of him. Whether he's handling the boy rightly or not, I don't know. Ah, here is Bradley.
Inspector Ross told me you wanted to see Slater, sir.
Yes.
Good afternoon, Mr. Temple. Oh, rather good evening.
Good evening, Superintendent.
You needn't wait, Bradley.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, Story, would you mind waiting in Superintendent Bradley's office? We shan't keep you long.
Oh, no, of course not.
Thanks so much. Sit down, Slater. Sit down.
Thank you, sir.
Now, Superintendent Bradley tells me that you refuse to talk, Slater.
What's the number of the car you were driving, do you know?
Yes, of course I know.
It wasn't your car, was it?
The car was parked in a garage just outside Canterbury yesterday afternoon. It was taken there by a girl. So far, we haven't been able to trace her. Slater picked the car up at 10:30 this morning.
I see.
Look, I don't know what all this is about. It was just an accident. An ordinary motor car accident. I'd never even seen the man before.
Who told you about the car in the first place?
No one told me.
No one told you? Well, how do you know the car was in the garage?
I don't know. For heaven's sake, leave me alone. Please, leave me alone.
Now, Slater, listen. You're being blackmailed. I knew that the moment I set eyes on you. But there's something that I want you to understand. Why you're being blackmailed is of no concern of ours. No concern whatsoever. In fact, my dear Slater, we're bleakly disinterested in that aspect of the case. But we are interested in the Marquis, the man who is doing the blackmailing. I suppose you stop being a damn fool and talk.
It's true that I'm being blackmailed. But oddly enough, not for money. You see...
Go on, Slater.
About a fortnight ago, I received a telephone message. It was from a girl. She said that I had to go down to Kellaway Manor near Bevensey Bay in Sussex. And when I got there, I should receive further instructions from the Marquis. This was on a Friday afternoon, and I went down to Bevensey on a Saturday. I stayed the night at the local inn, the Silver Swan, and on the Sunday I set out in search of Kellaway Manor. I had a game finding the place, and in fact, I very nearly gave it up as a bad job. However, Kellaway Manor turned out to be a derelict sort of mansion on the fringe of a wood almost 14 miles from Bevensey. There was no one at the place when I arrived, but on a table in the kitchen, the door was partly off its hinges and I could see into the house. There was a letter. The letter was addressed to me and...
And it gave you all the necessary instructions about the Packard, the garage at Canterbury, and your accident with Mr. Story.
Yes.
But this is absurd. Why didn't he send you the letter in the first place, or get someone...
I don't know, but what I've told you is the truth. I swear it's the truth.
Did you recognize the voice of the girl? I mean, the girl who spoke to you on the telephone?
No!
Temple, you don't think this place, Kellaway Manor, is the place we've been looking for? A sort of headquarters. The place from which the Marquis might...
Might be, Sir Graham. By Timothy, it might be.
Gosh, what weather. It's a good job we left Steve at the inn. Although she didn't seem to care for the idea very much, did she?
No. How much further have we got to go, Seda?
I don't think it's far now. The road gets very bad. I don't think I should take all the cars
No,
down.
I think we'd better stop.
Much further.
Doesn't look too safe for a car down here.
Well, if one of us gets stuck, we shall be in the devil of a mess.
How far is the house?
It's about another quarter of a mile, sir. About 200 yards further on, there's a wire fence. A pretty hefty-looking affair. It runs all the way around the estate.
I see. Does this road lead right down to the house?
Yes, sir. At least down to the fence.
Good.
All right, we'll go down. Let the others stay this side of the fence.
Yes. Now listen. Listen, everybody. Mr. Temple and I are going down to the house. Leave the rest of the cars where they are. About a quarter of a mile further on, there's a wire fence. It runs all the way round the estate. Now, spread out, and for heaven's sake, be ready for action. Ross, how many men have you got?
7, sir.
And Bradley?
9, sir.
Good. Are you ready, Temple?
Yes, I'm ready.
Go along, then. Temple, I can see into the kitchen.
Yes. Looks deserted to me. Wait a minute. No, there's no one here.
Things are in a pretty filthy condition, aren't they? I suppose you would call this the larder.
You wait here. I want to have a look upstairs.
Just a minute. I thought I heard someone shouting.
What? No.
I wonder what the devil the telephone people have been doing out here. I didn't see any sign.
Telephone people?
Yes. Apparently they've been working out here for some time.
Well, how do you know?
The landlord of the inn told Bradley. He thought Bradley was the supervisor. I say, Temple, listen.
Well, it's Bradley.
What on earth? Let's go outside. What's he saying? We can't hear you! What the devil's he doing?
He's pointing to the fence. Man alive, they've electrified it.
Electrified it?
What a damn fool. Why, I ought to have thought about that as soon as I saw the fence.
But what's the idea? It only means
It means that we're trapped. It means that whatever happens, we've got to stay close to the house.
But what does that matter?
What's it matter? Why, don't you see? They haven't been working on the telephone wires. They've been laying a mine.
Holy mackerel.
Laying a mine, Sir Graham. And we're on top of it. Who is the Marquis?
You've been listening to episode 3 of the new Paul Temple serial, Paul Temple Intervenes, by Francis Durbridge, with Carl Barnard as Paul Temple. The part of Steve was played by Bernadette Hodgson, Sir Graham Forbes by Lester Muddett, Inspector Ross by Edgar Norfolk, Superintendent Bradley by Godfrey Baisley, Mrs. Clarence by Mabel France, Sir Felix Reybourn by Ronald Simpson, Sergeant Leopold by David Compton, Roger Story by Sidney Taffler, and Derek Slater by Philip Garston Jones. Production by Martin C. Webster.
Paul Temple Intervenes, a new serial play by Francis Durbridge, produced by Martin C. Webster. Episode 4, A Warning from the Marquis.
Paul Temple, the celebrated novelist and private detective, is investigating a series of murders committed by a notorious criminal known as the Marquis. With Sir Graham Forbes, the Chief Commissioner of Police, Temple visits Kellaway Manor, a deserted mansion house about 14 miles from Bevensey, which is suspected of being the headquarters of the Marquis. While the Chief Commissioner and Temple are searching the house, they hear from outside a warning cry from Superintendent Bradley.
I see them.
That's Bradley.
What on earth? Let's go outside. What's he say?
We can't hear you.
He's pointing to the fence. Man alive! They've electrified it.
Electrified
What a damn fool. I ought to have thought about that as soon as I saw the fence.
But what's the idea? It only means...
It means that we're trapped. It means that whatever happens, we've got to stay close to the house.
But why?
Why? Why, don't you see? They haven't been working on the telephone wires. They've been laying a mine.
What?
Laying a mine, Sir Graham. And we're on top of it.
A mine?
Yes, look. Look here, sir.
Great
Look
Scott,
at the lead.
I believe you're right, Temple. There must be a powerhouse somewhere in the woods. That's how they electrified the fence. And that's how they'll... We've got to get past that fence. Whatever happens, we've got to get past it.
Come on, Sir Graham.
Righto.
There must be a powerhouse somewhere, sir. Turner was leaning up against the fence when the juice was turned on. He's in a pretty nasty condition, sir.
Poor devil.
Get back up the hill, Bradley, with your men. Tell Ross to do the same.
Quickly, Bradley.
Yes, very good, sir.
Now, what are we going to do?
There's only one thing we can do. It's our only chance. Now stand back, Sir Graham.
Why the revolver?
Now stand back. Damn it. Yes. Stand back.
Good man, you've broken the top wire.
Now look out. If I hit the second one, he might spring back.
You've done it. Come on.
All
Come
right.
on.
Well, mind the bottom wire. Look out. Get down on your face. Get down, get down.
Are you all right, Temple?
Yes.
Phew, that was a near thing. It's a good job we were not in the house.
Yes.
Here's Ross and Bradley.
Graham, are you all right, sir?
Yes, we're all right.
Thank heaven.
It's a good thing you got clear of the house, sir.
Yes.
You know, this fence wasn't electrified when we arrived here. I'm sure of that.
No.
There must be a power and control house, and it's quite obviously somewhere in the wood.
Yes, and if you want my opinion, sir, they've been watching us.
Watching us?
Yes, with binoculars. Otherwise, how the devil could they time that mine? And incidentally,
Incidentally, the best thing you can do, Bradley, is get the men together and make a thorough search of the wood.
Oh, very good, sir.
You too, Ross.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Temple and I are going back to the inn.
But what about Slater, sir?
Now, you can take Slater along with you. Report to us later at the Silver Swan, you understand?
Yes, sir. Well, we'd better let Turner know.
Yes.
I wonder what Steve's been doing while we've been nearly electrocuted and blown to smithereens, eh?
He's probably spent a very gay evening at the summer edition of Punch.
Yes, I shouldn't be surprised at that.
Perhaps you'd like to see this, madam. It's the summer number of Punch.
Oh, thank you.
Would you like something to drink, madam?
No, thanks.
Oh, good evening, Sir Felix. I'll be with you in just 1 second.
Thank you. Why, Mrs. Temple, this is a surprise. Fancy meeting you here.
Hello, Sir Felix. What are you doing in this part of the world?
What am I doing? Oh, I beg your pardon. You know my housekeeper, Mrs. Clarence.
Good evening, madam.
Hello, Mrs. Clarence. How are you?
Well, I'm much better now, thank you, although I have been poorly.
You better go with Tom, Mrs. Clarence.
Yes.
Give it to Mrs. Clarence, Tom. She'll take care of it.
Yes, very good.
Mind you do take care of it, Tom.
All this sounds very mysterious.
I know the landlord here. He's letting me have a case of whiskey.
I see.
But you haven't answered my question.
What question, Sir Felix?
What on earth are you doing at Bevensey?
Oh, no. That was my question.
Oh, I've got a country house. I suppose you call it an estate, really. It's about 6 or 7 miles away. Greensea House. So I'm frequently in this part of the country.
I see.
Oh, I beg your pardon, madam. There's a gentleman to see you, Sergeant Morris.
Oh, thank you.
Now, well, I'll be off. Goodbye, Mrs. Temple.
Goodbye.
If you are down here for any length of time, don't hesitate to look me up. I should be delighted.
Yes, we shall. Thank you.
Greensea House.
It's in the car, sir.
Oh, thank you, Tom.
Thank you, sir.
Well, goodbye, Mrs. Temple.
Goodbye, Sir Felix.
Sergeant Morris is at the side entrance, madam. I think you should go to the smoking room.
Right, I will.
Mrs. Temple?
Yes?
Sergeant Morris, madam, and Detective Leeson. Good evening, madam.
Good evening.
Mr. Temple asked us to pick you up and take you down to Keystone Crossroads.
Is he all right?
Yeah, he's all right, Mrs. Temple. It was rather out of their way to come back to the inn, so we volunteered.
Oh, thank you very much.
We've nearly done the 10 miles. Yes.
I say, isn't it about time that we reach...
Keep your mouth shut. Don't ask any questions.
What is this? Who are you? What are you going
You heard what I said. Keep your mouth shut and don't ask any questions.
Stop the car! Stop this car!
Look out, Rex! Look out! Why, you little devil!
Don't hit her. What our instructions are.
Then, for Pete's sake, let's get rid of her.
Not yet. Not yet.
You don't stop this car! Help! Help! Somebody help!
Heaven's sake, stop her. I can't drive with that damn noise.
Keep quiet, you little... You hear me? Keep quiet and I'll...
Okay. We've done the 10 miles. Thank heaven for that. Get out.
Leave me alone. I'll get out myself.
You can easily find your way back to the Silver Swan, Mrs. Temple. It's 10 miles and a pretty straight road.
What's the meaning of this?
When you get there, give your husband this letter and take care of it. Take care of it, Mrs. Temple, because it's important. It's from the Marquis.
Well, she's not in the garden. Apparently, she's not in the lounge.
That's very odd.
Oh, have you seen my wife, waiter? We arrived here about...
Yes, sir. Mrs. Temple left the hotel about 3/4 of an hour ago, sir. Sergeant Morris called for us, sir.
Sergeant Morris?
Yes, sir.
What do you mean, Sergeant Morris?
Sergeant Morris, sir?
Oh, my God.
What did he look like, this man who called himself Sergeant Morris?
Well, he was about your build, sir. Rather good-looking, and is anything the matter, sir?
No.
No, nothing's the matter.
Hello, Sir Graham.
Oh,
Hello, Temple.
Why, what on earth are you doing down here, Story?
I came down to see you, Sir Graham, and...
That's all right, waiter.
Thank you, sir.
Now, what is it? What's all the excitement about?
Oh, I've been so worried. Hellishly worried. You see, I knew that you were all coming down here, to Bevensey, I mean, and this morning I discovered
What did you discover?
I discovered that Sir Felix Reybourn has a house near here. Greensea House.
That's interesting.
Greensea House?
Yes.
I beg your pardon, sir.
Yes?
But would the gentleman mind moving his car, please? It's rather awkward.
Oh, I'm
for
so
him.
sorry. Yes, of course. Yes, certainly. I shan't be a second, Sir Graham.
Right. Do you think that's true, Temple, about Sir Felix?
I don't know. But if it is true...
If it is true, then it explains a great deal, I'm thinking.
Oh, yes, here they are.
Oh, come in, Inspector. Why, hello, Steve.
Hello, Sir Graham. Hello, darling. Well, aren't you pleased to see me?
Why, Timothy, Steve, what on earth have you been up to?
What have I been up to?
I say, Ross, you aren't by any chance this mysterious Sergeant Morris, the waiter was telling us about?
No, sir. We picked Mrs. Temple up about 4 or 5 miles back. She was walking. Apparently, a couple of damn fools took her out in the car and, well, more or less dumped her, as far as I can gather.
Did you recognize them, Steve?
No, but they gave me this letter. It's for you, darling. I opened it.
What's it say?
It says...
It says, next time will be different. But there will be no next time, Mr. Temple, if you are wise and do not interfere. The Marquis.
Marquis?
Yes, the Marquis. Well, did you find the powerhouse, Ross?
The superintendent did, sir. A small brick building about a quarter of a mile past the house. It was deserted when we reached it.
I see. Where's Bradley?
He's making a further search of the woods, and then he's reporting back to town.
Good.
Paul, did you know that Sir Felix Reybourn...
Has a house near here? Yes, oh yes, Steve. In fact, Mr. Story made a special journey down from London.
For the express purpose of telling us all about it.
Mr. Story?
Yes.
Is Mr. Story down here, then, sir?
Yes.
Did he tell you what it was called? The house, I mean.
I think he said Greensea House.
Yes. Yes, that's right. That's what Sir Felix said. Greensea House.
I should slow down soon, Temple. We can't be very far away.
No.
Well, what are you going to say to Sir Felix? I mean, you just can't say you've dropped in for a cup of tea.
Well, hardly. It's nearly 8 o'clock.
I don't give a damn what you say to him. But what I do know is this. If, up at the house, you so much as set your eyes on anyone who abducted Steve, I'll have a warrant out for Sir Felix before you can say Jack Robinson.
Oh, here we are. Slow down. It's on the left. Well, that's the house, I should imagine, through those trees.
Pretty impressive looking, isn't it?
Wait for us here, Sir Graham. And give us a quarter of an hour. And if you don't hear from
Then
us...
we'll storm the Bastille.
What? You okay, Steve?
Yes.
Oh. It'll take us 4 or 5 minutes to get up the drive. Now, you better make it 20 minutes, Sir Graham.
Yes, righto. Good luck, Temple.
Okay.
I can't see the bell, darling. You?
No. No, there doesn't seem to be one.
This torch isn't very good. What we need is a new battery.
Well, it's not really what you'd call very dark.
What was that?
What?
This...
It's only a dog, darling. Somewhere at the back of the house.
Paul, what are you doing?
I'm looking for the...
What is it?
The door's open. Give me a torch.
Darling, we can't go in.
Don't be silly.
Paul, I'm frightened.
Darling, there's nothing to be frightened about. Come on.
Look, there's a door on the left.
Yes. Hello there? Anybody at home? Hello there? Anybody at home?
It seems deserted.
Paul, Don't you think we ought to go back to Sir Graham?
It's all right. Just have a look in here first.
Well,
Empty. Looks like the library.
full of detective novels, I suppose.
Yes, I expect so.
Oh, that, darling, you made me jump.
What do you mean?
You touched my hand. Look, Paul, don't you think it would be far better if we went back...
Steve, what are you talking about? I didn't touch your hand. I was standing over here.
Don't be silly, darling. You're touching it now. Why? What?
Don't move. Don't move.
What is it? Paul. Paul, what is it? What are you staring at?
Don't move. Don't move, Steve. Just near your left hand, there's a snake. For God's sake, don't move.
Who is the Marquis?
Temple Intervenes, a new serial play by Francis Durbridge, produced by Martin C. Webster. Episode 5, Paul Temple Keeps an Appointment.
Paul Temple, the celebrated novelist and private detective, is investigating a series of murders committed by a notorious criminal known as the Marquis. One evening, Paul Temple and his wife, Steve, visit Greensea House, the country residence of Sir Felix Reybourn. When they arrive at the house, they find, to their surprise, that it's deserted. The front door is partly open, however, so both Paul and Steve enter.
Paul, don't you think we ought to go back to Sir Graham?
Yes, all right. Just have a look in here first.
Well,
It's empty. Looks like the library.
full of detective novels, I suppose.
I expect so.
Oh, that's that, darling. You made me jump.
Why, what do you mean?
You touched my hand. Look, Paul, don't you think it would be far better if we went...
Steve, what are you talking about? I didn't touch your hand. I was standing over here.
Silly, darling. You're touching it now. What? What?
Don't move. Don't move.
What is it? Paul, what is it? What are you staring at?
Don't move. Don't move, Steve. Just by your left hand, there's a snake. Don't move. For God's sake, don't move.
Darling, don't be too long.
What on earth?
Why, it's Tina, Sir Felix. Look.
Bless my soul. It's all right, Mrs. Temple. She's quite harmless. Come along, Tina. Hey, you see. Quite harmless. Poor Tina.
Oh, Paul.
You all right, darling?
Tina, you naughty girl.
Well, I think we better have some light.
Now, come along, Tina. Come along, you naughty girl.
Now, however did you get in here?
Well, I'm afraid I opened that door. You see, I thought perhaps...
Oh, you shouldn't have done that, Mr. Temple. I keep a lot of pets, you know. Most of them quite harmless, but perhaps a little unusual.
Unusual?
I'm so sorry if Tina frightened you. Actually, you know, I expect she was just as frightened herself. She's very sensitive. Oh, dear, dear. You must think me quite a character. I'm a zoologist as well as an Egyptologist, Mr. Temple, so that accounts for my strange collection of friends.
Strange collection of friends? Oh, the snake?
Yes. Mr. Temple, forgive me, but how did you manage to get into the house?
Well, I'm afraid it was rather presumptuous of us, Sir Felix, but you see, the front door was partly open and we...
Open the front door? Are you sure?
But of course.
Oh, extraordinary. But I don't see how it could have been opened. I mean...
Have you been away from the house very long?
Yes. Yes, it must have been an hour and a half. After we left you at the inn, Mrs. Temple, we, that is Mrs. Clarence and I, came straight back here. And then we went on to Ferndale Court, Lord Brecton's place. It's about half a mile away. Yes, we left there at about 15 or 20 minutes ago.
I suppose Lord Brecton could verify that.
Of course he could verify it, if you consider it necessary, Mr. Temple.
Well, it may be necessary.
And what do you mean, sir?
Paul, what are you looking at?
Good gracious, that's blood. Near the bottom of the door. How on earth did... Yeah, look, it leads right to the front door.
Yes, it does. Sir Felix, now let's be quite honest with one another. What does that suggest to you?
Mm-hmm. It looks to me as if someone had been hurt, badly hurt.
Yes, and then taken through the front door and out of the house.
Yes.
Did you take anyone out of the house tonight, Sir Felix?
What? No, I assure you that I didn't. I swear.
Oh, Sir Felix!
But, my dear Mrs. Clarence, what on earth is the matter?
No, Sir Felix. I was seeing to the curtains in the drawing room.
Take your time. Take your time now, Mrs. Clarence.
Oh, I must be seeing things. It can't be true.
Now, you were saying that you were seeing to the curtains in the drawing room.
Yes, and I happened to look through the window. It's moonlight now, and... Oh, Sir Felix, there's someone in the shrubbery. You can see him. He looks as if he's... As if
All right, come along, Sir Felix. You take care of Mrs. Clarence, will you, Steve? We shan't be long.
Now, sit down, Mrs. Clarence.
I don't see anyone. She must have been mistaken. Surely Mrs. Clarence must have been mistaken.
No, she wasn't mistaken. I'm sure of that.
Well, if Mrs. Clarence could see him from the drawing room window, I fail to see what...
Look.
Huh? Oh. Oh, poor fellow. Is he dead?
Yes.
Oh, dear.
You ever seen this man before, Sir Felix?
No, I haven't. Honestly, Mr. Temple, I swear to you, I've never seen him in my life before. Never.
Chap.
Who is he? Do you know?
Yes, I know. He's the young man who told us about Kellaway Manor, Sir Felix. And his name is Derek Slater.
Well, I can't see your point of view, Temple. I'm darned if I can. After all, this isn't one of your detective novels, you know. It doesn't necessarily mean that because suspicion falls on Sir Felix Reybourn, he's automatically innocent. I have given this matter a great deal of thought. A great deal. And it's my contention that Sir Felix Reybourn is the Marquis.
Then why don't you arrest him, Sir Graham?
I've already done so.
You've what?
I sent Bradley down to Bevonsey first thing this morning. He's got a warrant. Technically, I'm arresting Sir Felix for the murder of Derek Slater.
For the murder of Derek Slater?
Yes, whether he's the Marquis or not. You're not going to tell me he didn't murder Derek Slater.
He murdered Slater, all right. There's nothing more certain.
Really, Ross? Tell me, what makes you think so?
Oh, now come, Mr. Temple. In the first place, after you and Sir Graham left Kellaway Manor, Superintendent Bradley and I, together with Slater and the rest of our men, made a search of the wood. We discovered the powerhouse. It was deserted.
Yes, we already know that.
But we lost Slater. At first we thought he'd got the wind up and gone back to town. What actually happened, however, is pretty obvious.
Well, supposing you tell us what actually happened.
Well, Mr. Temple, in my opinion, Sir Felix Reybourn was in the powerhouse. After that mine went off, he made a dash for it and, by sheer accident, bumped into Slater. He knocked Slater out and then took him back to Greensea House. Kept him in the house until it got dark, and then, together with Mrs. Clarence, they took him outside and dumped him in the shrubbery. It's my contention they were actually doing this when you and Mrs. Temple arrived at the house.
I agree, Ross. I agree 100%.
You see, sir, it fits together like a jigsaw puzzle. Now, for instance, when you and Mrs. Temple arrived at the house, the door was open. Now, if Sir Felix and Mrs. Clarence were just at the back of the house, as I suspect, then they'd leave the door open. The more or less natural thing to do.
Yes, but just a minute, Ross. We've checked up on the alibi. Both Sir Felix and Mrs. Clarence were at Lord Brixton's place until 7:30.
Well, sir, that doesn't mean
Now,
to say
might
that
I suggest an alternative theory? Supposing Ross is right, Sir Graham, and that the person who left the powerhouse bumped into Slater and knocked him out.
Mm-hmm.
But just suppose that, that person wasn't Sir Felix, but, it was somebody else.
Really?
Someone who wanted to throw suspicion, or shall we say continue to throw suspicion, onto Reybourn.
Yes, go on.
Well, now, they'd taken Slater to Greensea House. When they found the house empty, Sir Felix and Mrs. Clarence being at Lord Brixton's, they opened the front door with a pass key and dumped Slater in the hall.
He wasn't found in the hall. He was found in the shrubbery.
Of course he was. But you see, let us suppose that when Slater was left at Greensea House, he wasn't dead.
Eh?
He got out, you see, opened the front door, instinctively left it open, and then staggered out into the drive. It was getting dark, and poor devil was frightened. He made his way round to the back of the house and fell into the shrubbery.
It's an interesting theory.
And you expect us to believe, Mr. Temple, that this person, the man who left the powerhouse, the man who knocked out Slater, had, by sheer coincidence, a pass key to Sir Felix's house? That's stretching the imagination too far, Mr. Temple.
I'm inclined to agree with you.
There's only one person with a key to Greensea House, and that's Sir Felix himself. And it was Sir Felix himself who murdered Slater and dumped him in the shrubbery. Of that I'm absolutely convinced.
Well, I'm delighted to hear you say that, Inspector. There's nothing I like better than to hear a man say he's absolutely convinced about something.
Well,
so Sir Felix left the powerhouse, bumped into Slater, knocked him out, and instead of leaving him in the wood, took him all the way back to Greensea House and more or less dumped him in front of his own front door. Well.
Yes, Sergeant?
I beg your pardon, sir. Mr. Story is here, sir. He'd like to see Mr. Temple.
All right, Sergeant. Show him in, will you?
Mr. Story, sir.
Oh, hello, Story.
Oh, hello, Sir Graham. I do hope I'm not making a nuisance of myself.
Not at all.
Oh, morning, Inspector.
Oh, you're looking very much better, Story.
Oh, I am much better,
Oh,
thanks.
good.
Oh, no, please don't go, Inspector.
I gather you wanted to have a word with Temple.
Oh, no, not only with Temple. I did try and get you on the phone, Temple, but your man said you were at Scotland Yard, so I thought... Well, look, I think perhaps you'd better read this letter. That'll explain the reason for my visit.
Oh, thank you. The Honourable Charles Surflane, 794B Park Lane. Dear Sir, I have in my possession 4 letters which were written by you to a Miss Lorraine Curtis on August the 7th, 10th, 14th, and 17th of last year. It is my opinion that these letters are worth precisely £7,000, and I would suggest, therefore, that you take the necessary steps to secure this amount. Having done so, put the money in a small leather suitcase and hand it over to a young lady who will meet you at the Argyle Street entrance of the Oxford Circus Tube Station tomorrow evening at 6:30. It is imperative that you carry out these instructions personally. The Marquis.
The Honourable Charles Surflane.
When did he get this letter?
Yesterday morning. He was in a dreadful state, poor fellow. He didn't know what to do. Out of desperation, he came to me.
Why? Why didn't he come to Scotland Yard?
Oh, well, because he was frightened. The very thought of a scandal has nearly given the poor boy heart failure. You see, Charles and I were at Oxford together, and... Well, what's the matter?
What are you looking at, Temple?
I'm looking at the postmark. Apparently the letter was posted in Wimbledon.
Wimbledon? Oh, that's my part of the world. Look, well, if the blighter's living on my doorstep.
Yes.
When are you seeing Sir Flynn again?
Oh, this morning, Sir Graham. We're lunching together.
Tell him not to worry, but to do exactly as the letter says. Doesn't matter about the 7,000. He can use an empty suitcase. But he must meet that girl. That's absolutely essential. You understand the story?
Yes, Sir Graham.
Now, Ross, as far as we're concerned, our best plan is for you and Bradley to...
Oh, hello, Bradley.
Hello, Mr. Temple.
You've been quick, Bradley. Why?
What is it? Something wrong?
Sir Felix Reybourn and Mrs. Clarence left Bevensey by car shortly after 9 o'clock this morning. Just outside Barking, the car skidded. And by an absolute miracle, Mrs. Clarence escaped with just the shaking.
And Sir Felix?
Sir Felix is dead.
Dead? I don't believe it.
Who identified the body?
I did, Sir Graham.
I never realized that Sir Felix was 69.
Didn't you, darling? Pass me my jacket, darling.
Here you are. Paul, do you think that it really was an accident, or...
Oh, yeah. It was an accident, all right. Oh, I say, is that clock right?
About 5 minutes past.
Oh, we haven't too much time. You know, I think perhaps...
Look here, darling. What's all the fuss about, and where are we going? We don't usually go out at this time of night.
No, we don't, do we, darling? Well, it'll make a nice change. Come in.
I beg your pardon, sir.
Oh, what is it, Price?
Sir Graham Forbes is called, sir. He's in the drawing room.
Oh, thank you. All right, come along, Steve.
Is this dress all right?
Is it what? Oh, devastating.
Pig.
Hello, Steve.
Hello, Sir Graham.
Oh, are you two going out?
Yes. Well, what happened?
Not a thing happened.
Did the Honourable Charles Surflane turn up?
Oh, yes, he turned up all right, complete with suitcase. He waited almost an hour for the girl.
But she never showed up.
No. And you know what I think, Temple? I think that proves without any shadow of doubt that Sir Felix Reybourn was the Marquis.
Well, if Sir Felix was the Marquis, your troubles are over, Sir Graham.
Taxi is here, sir.
Oh, thank you. We shan't be a minute, Price. Can we give you a lift, Sir Graham?
No, I've got the car. I say, Temple. I say, where on earth are you two going anyway?
You'd be surprised, Sir Graham. By Timothy, you'd be surprised.
Where are we going?
By Timothy, Steve. Now, do be patient.
We seem to have been traveling for hours.
No, darling, 35 minutes. That's all, 35 minutes. Pretty dark, isn't it?
Paul, listen, if you don't tell me where we're going, I'll never speak to you again.
Is that a promise?
Where are we going?
We're going to the Clockwise.
The Clockwise?
Huh?
What is it?
It's a nightclub.
A nightclub?
Yes.
What are we going there for?
We're going there because I have an appointment.
An appointment? Who with?
With whom, darling?
Who with?
Oh, it's no use telling you, Steve. Because you won't believe me.
How do you know?
No, I know you won't.
Why don't you tell me and see?
All right, then. I have an appointment with Sir Felix Reybourn. Yes.
Temple Intervenes, a new serial play by Francis Durbridge, produced by Martin C. Webster.
Episode 6, Above Suspicion.
Paul Temple, the celebrated novelist and private detective, is investigating a series of murders committed by a notorious criminal known as the Marquis. Suspicion has fallen on Sir Felix Reybourn, the eminent Egyptologist, when he is reported killed in a motor car accident. On the night of the accident, Paul Temple, together with his wife Steve, leave their flat for an unknown destination.
Paul, listen. If you don't tell me where we're going, I'll never speak to you again.
Is that a promise?
Where are we going?
We're going to the Clockwise.
The Clockwise?
Yes.
What's that?
It's a nightclub.
A nightclub?
Mhm.
Why are we going there?
We're going there because I have an appointment.
An appointment? Who with?
With whom, darling?
Who with?
Well, there's no use telling you, Steve, because you won't believe me.
How do you know?
Well, I know you won't.
Why don't you tell me and see?
All right. I have an appointment with Sir Felix Reybourn. Yes.
With Sir Felix Reybourn?
Yes. Oh, and here we are.
Paul, what on earth are you
Now,
talking...
darling, no more questions, darling, please.
Sir Felix is dead.
Now, darling, no more questions.
Yeah, I think this is the place, sir.
Yes, this is it. Now, how much do you want?
Well, you see what's on the clock, sir?
I can... Yeah. Well, here we are.
Oh, thank you, sir. Good night, sir.
Good night. You'll mind the curb, darling.
Paul, what sort of a place is this?
It's a nightclub, my sweet, where all the men are men and all the women are vaguely familiar.
Hello, Mr. Temple.
Hello, Gus. How are you?
Oh, fine, Mr. Temple.
Where's Maisie?
Oh, hello, Paul.
Oh, she's here. Oh, Steve, this is Maisie Dellaway, an old friend of mine. Mr. Temple?
Oh, I am glad to know you, Mr. Temple. I've heard a great deal about you. Paul and I are very old friends, you know.
Yes, I rather got that impression.
Oh, we met in Kansas way back in 1931. Those were the days.
Yes, those were the days.
Those were the days.
Yeah. Well, how's the guest of honor?
Oh, he's swell. He's a queer old bird, though. Say confidentially, Paul. What's the layout?
Well, confidentially, Maisie. It's confidential.
I catch on. Well, you'll find him up on the second floor.
Oh.
It's the first door on the right. Just take the lift.
Oh, thanks. Okay.
Maisie seems a very close friend.
Oh, I've known Maisie for years. She's just like a sister.
She certainly made me feel like one of the family.
Oh, darling.
But, Paul, seriously, is Sir Felix really alive?
Yes.
But I don't understand.
Oh, soon will.
Why, Superintendent Bradley.
Hello, Mrs. Temple.
Good evening, Mrs. Temple.
Felix. Paul, I really think it's about time you did a bit of explaining.
All right, darling, I'll explain. Now, all in good time. Are you all right, Sir Felix? You're quite comfortable here?
Oh, yes. I'm all right. Providing I don't have to stay here too long. Yes. This Miss Maisie Dellaway, she's quite a character, isn't she?
Yes, quite a character.
Yes, quite a character.
Mr. Temple,
Have you seen Sir Graham since we...
No, I haven't. But there's nothing for you to worry about, Bradley. I've given you my word on that, and I shan't let you down.
Oh, I know that, sir, but naturally I'm worried.
Was all this necessary, Temple? It seems rather a melodramatic precaution, if you don't mind my saying so.
I only wish to goodness someone would tell me what's happened.
Well, I'll tell you what's happened, darling. A series of highly incriminating developments indicated beyond any shadow of doubt that Sir Felix was the Marquis.
Most extraordinary.
Accordingly, Sir Graham issued a warrant for his arrest. I knew this would happen, however, and I told Bradley that under no circumstances was Sir Felix to be arrested. The motor car accident was faked.
Darling, you can't hope to get away with it.
I don't hope to get away with it, Steve, not indefinitely. But for 24 hours, perhaps even 48 hours, yes. And a lot can happen in 48 hours, Steve.
I hope so, Mr. Temple. I sincerely hope so. Morning, sir.
Good morning, Sergeant.
Mr. Temple's in your office, sir. He's been waiting since 9 o'clock.
Good morning, Sir Graham.
Oh, hello, Temple. You're an early bird, aren't you?
Ah, well, you know what they say about the early birds, Sir Graham.
Have you seen the Morning Express?
No, I'm afraid I haven't.
Well, they've got a whale of a story.
Oh.
Whether there's any truth in it or not, heaven only knows.
What is their story, exactly?
Well, as far as I can gather, they seem to think Sir Felix isn't dead. Damn it, Bradley identified the body.
Oh, I'm sorry, sir.
That's all right, Ross. Come in.
Good morning, Mr. Temple.
Hello, Inspector.
I've brought my report on the Bevonsey affair, sir. Hasn't been typed yet, but...
Oh, that's all right, Ross. I want to go through it first anyway.
Have you seen the Morning Express, Inspector?
No, sir, not this morning.
Well, according to Sir Graham, they don't seem to think that Reybourn is dead.
But he must be dead. Why, Inspector Bradley identified the body.
Nevertheless, it would be rather good news if Reybourn weren't dead. Wouldn't it, Inspector?
Yes. Yes, indeed it would, sir, yes.
All right, you can leave this report with me, Inspector.
Thank you,
Sir Graham.
Hmm?
Do you remember the envelope found on Roddy Carson? The one with the address on? Sir Felix Reybourne's address?
Yes.
Have you got it?
Yes, it's in this drawer here.
Oh, good.
Ah, yes, here it is.
Well, thanks. Now, Sir Graham, you remember the letter? The one that Story brought us? The one that was written by the Marquis to the Honourable Charles Surflane?
Yes, I remember it. Incidentally, we checked up on the handwriting. It's exactly the same. The same as this on the envelope, I mean.
Well, now, compare the writing on the envelope with the writing on that report. The report that Inspector Ross gave you just now.
What do you mean? Why, this report was written by Ross himself.
Compare them, Sir Graham.
Good Lord, my...
They're exactly the same?
Exactly. Temple. Temple. What the devil does this mean?
I'll tell you what it means, Sir Graham. I'll tell you what it means. That jingle, jangle, jingle, as I go riding merrily along. I've got spurs that jingle, jangle, jingle. Hello, darling, yes?
Do stop making that awful row.
What do you mean, awful row? I'm only having a shower.
Roger Story's here. He's in the drawing room.
Oh, yes, okay, all right, I'll be along in a minute.
Are we going out tonight?
Yes, right here, later on. Tell Story I shan't be long, will you, Steve? You made me love you, I didn't want to do it.
Oh, good evening, Temple. I got your message. I'm sorry I was out when you phoned.
Oh, that's okay. Oh, excuse this chaste-looking dressing gown. It's my wife's idea of what a popular novelist should wear. Oh, actually, I've never been to China. Can I get you a drink?
No, thanks.
You don't mind if I have one?
Huh? Oh, no, of course not.
You sure you won't have a drink?
Yeah, that's certain.
Oh. Well, cheerio.
Oh, cheers.
The Story. I asked you to drop in and have a chat with me because... Well, the fact of the matter is, I want you to do me a favor.
Oh, certainly.
I think you know Inspector Ross, by sight at any rate.
Yes. Well, yes, of course I know Ross.
Well, what do you think of him?
Eh? Oh, he seems a pleasant sort of chap. I don't know him really well. Why?
The story. I want you to trail Ross. What? I want you to make a daily report to me. Do you see? I want to know everywhere he goes, everything he does, and what sort of people he mixes with. Will you do that for me?
Trail Ross? Inspector Ross?
Yes.
But surely Ross is above suspicion.
No one's above suspicion, Story, not even you. Or Ross, or Bradley, or Mrs. Clarence. Or even me, if it comes to that.
Yes, but... Are you serious about this?
Yes, perfectly serious.
All right. That's all right, I'll do it. Where does Ross live, do you know?
Yes, 49 Birchfield Avenue, Wimbledon.
49 Birchfield Avenue, Wimbledon. Oh. When do you want me to make a start? Tonight?
I'd like you to.
All right. I'll phone you tomorrow morning about 10. Okay?
Yes, okay.
Inspector Ross. Good God.
Pass the marmalade, darling. The marmalade.
Oh, yes, the marmalade. I beg your pardon.
Paul,
Yes?
you were with Sir Graham rather a long time yesterday afternoon. Did you tell him about Sir Felix?
Oh, yes, I told him.
What did he say?
Well, he was rather surprised, to put it mildly.
You know, darling, I can't see what you're up to.
Well, that's something anyway, Steve.
Yes, but why pretend that Sir Felix is dead?
I wanted to know whether Sir Felix was really the Marquis or not.
But I thought that you'd already decided that Sir Felix wasn't the Marquis.
Did you, darling?
Look here, Paul. Don't be mysterious with me, because...
Because you know all the answers, eh, my sweet?
Well, I know most of them anyway, so don't try... What is it, Price?
I beg your pardon, madam. Sir Graham Forbes would like to see Mr. Temple.
Oh, yes, all right.
Bring some more coffee, Price, will you?
Very good, madam.
This is rather unusual at this time of the day, isn't it?
Yes.
Hello, Temple.
Well, come in, Sir Graham.
Oh, hello, Steve. I say, I didn't realize you were having breakfast.
Oh, that's all right. And do sit down, will you? And have some coffee?
Yes, thanks. I will, good.
You'll find some cigarettes on the table.
Thank you.
Black or white, Sir Graham?
Oh, black for me, please, Steve. Temple.
Yes?
You remember that letter? The one that was sent to Surflane, the Honourable Charles Surflane?
Yes.
Well, apparently he's received another letter.
Another letter? How do you know?
Well, when I got to the yard this morning, Surflane was waiting there for me. He was with Bradley.
Your coffee, Sir Graham.
Ah, thank you, Steve. Apparently he'd received this note late last night. You'd better read it yourself.
Oh, thank you.
Is the coffee all right?
Fine, thanks. Have you a match, Steve? Oh, no, it's all right. I've got my lighter. Well? What do you think of it?
Well, I think this time, Sir Graham, he means business.
Don't you think that he meant business last time?
No,
What makes you say that?
Well, no one turned up at the station, did they?
No, for the simple reason that the Marquis found out that Surflane had taken the letter to Story, and that Story had brought it to us.
What does this letter say?
Well, the message is on a plain piece of notepaper and it's typed. It simply says, "Dear Sir, this note must be taken more seriously than the first note I sent you, and it must be considered strictly confidential. The letters written by you to a Miss Lorraine Curtis are still in my possession. They are still, in my humble opinion, worth precisely £7,000. I suggest, therefore, that having secured this amount, you meet me personally tomorrow evening, shortly after 8 o'clock, in the lounge of the October Hotel, Dalton Street, Kensington. The Marquis."
Surely the Marquis wouldn't be there personally.
Sir Graham, what's the matter?
What is it, Paul?
I don't know.
Temple, there's something wrong with this cigarette.
No. Don't stand up, Sir Graham.
I'll be all right once
Look out, he's going to fall.
Paul, he's not dead.
Now, Steve, for heaven's sake, don't... What is it, Price?
I beg your pardon, sir.
Yes, but what is it? What is it, Price?
There's a lady called to see you, sir.
Well, who is it?
Mrs. Clarence, sir.
Who is the Marquis?
Is it Sir Felix Reybourn?
Or Inspector Ross? Or Roger Story?
Or Superintendent Bradley?
Or Mrs. Clarence.
Or...
You've been listening to episode 6 of the new Paul Temple serial, Paul Temple Intervenes, by Francis Durbridge, with Carl Bernard as Paul Temple. The part of Steve was played by Bernadette Hodgson, the taxi driver by Hal Brandt, Maisie by Bessie Love, Sir Felix Reybourn by Ronald Simpson, Superintendent Bradley by Godfrey Baisley, Sergeant Leopold and Price by David Compton, Sir Graham Forbes by Lester Muddett, Inspector Ross by Edgar Norfolk, and Roger Story by Sidney Taft.
Paul Temple Intervenes, a new serial play by Francis Durbridge, produced by Martin C. Webster. Episode 7, The October Hotel.
Paul Temple, the celebrated novelist and private detective, is investigating a series of murders committed by a notorious criminal known as the Marquis. Sir Graham Forbes, the Chief Commissioner of Police, visits Temple and produces a note which the Marquis has sent to the Honourable Charles Surfley.
What does this letter say?
Well, the message is on a plain piece of notepaper. It's typed, and it simply says, "Dear Sir, this note must be taken far more seriously than the first note I sent you, and it must be considered strictly confidential. The letters written by you to a Miss Lorraine Curtis are still in my possession. They are still, in my humble opinion, worth precisely £7,000. I suggest, therefore, that having secured this amount, you meet me personally tomorrow evening, shortly after 8 o'clock, in the lounge of the October Hotel, Dalton Street, Kensington. The Marquis."
But surely the Marquis wouldn't be there personally.
Sir Graham, what's the matter?
What is it, Paul?
I don't know.
There's something wrong with this cigarette.
No. Don't stand up, Sir Graham.
I'll be all right once I...
Now, look out. He's going to fall.
Oh, Paul, he's not dead.
Now, Steve, for heaven's sake, don't... What is it, Price?
I beg your pardon, sir.
What is it, Price?
There's a lady called to see you,
Well,
sir.
who is it?
Mrs. Clarence, sir.
Mrs. Clarence?
It's all right now. Now, take it easy, Sir Graham. Come along, take it easy.
I'm...
No. Just keep still. Now, don't move. Pour some coffee, will you? Quickly, Steve. Quick.
Here you are.
Oh, go on. Now, here you are, Sir Graham. Now, drink this. Come along. Go and have a word with Mrs. Clarence, will you, darling? He'll be all right now.
Are you sure?
Oh, yes.
I'm all right now.
Come along. Finish this coffee.
I couldn't get the bread. It was most
extraordinary feeling.
Yes.
What do you think it was, Temple? The cigarette?
Oh, yes, it was the cigarette. Only it wasn't meant for you, Sir Graham. It was meant for either Steve or myself.
What?
Thank goodness you're drinking coffee. It's a drug known as loci.
Loci?
Yes. And lucky for you, black coffee serves as a sort of antidote.
Oh, does it?
Yeah.
Well, I'll finish this off.
Hello? Yes. Paul Temple speaking. Oh, Story. Oh, yes. Yes, well, meet me here at 12:30, will you? Yes. All right, goodbye.
Oh, that's better.
Are you feeling better, Sir Graham?
Yes, I think I'm all right now, Steve.
What did Mrs. Clarence want?
She wants you to go round to see Sir Felix.
Oh, I'm going round this morning. Did you tell her so?
Yes.
Oh, I shall be back about 12. And, darling, I'm expecting Roger's story. If I'm a little late, will you ask him to wait?
Yes, darling, I will.
Is Mrs. Clarence still here?
No, she's gone.
Temple?
Yes?
What happened exactly? About Ross?
Well, I did what I told you I was going to do, Sir Graham.
Well, Ross isn't a fool, Temple. It won't take him long to realize that Story's training him.
How long have you known Ross?
Oh, now let me see. He came to the yard in 1930.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, I've known Ross about 14 or 15 years. He's a Liverpool man.
How old is he? 44? 45?
Oh, I think he's about 47. I'm not sure.
Is he married?
Oh, yes. He married about 4 or 5 years ago. Oh, by gad, Temple, when the newspapers discover that Sir Felix really is alive, there won't half be a shindy.
I still can't understand why Sir Felix had to pretend that he wasn't alive.
You soon will understand, Steve.
Temple, what about this letter to Surflane? I gather that you take it seriously.
Oh, yes. Yes, I take it seriously.
Oh, well, I must be off. I have a heavy day in front of me. I'll let you know the arrangement about tonight later.
Oh, yes, all right. Well, look here. I'll drop you on the way. Shall I, Sir Graham?
Yes, thanks. By the way, where is Sir Felix? You never told me.
He's staying at the Clockwise.
Clockwise?
Yes.
Not Maisie Dalloway's place. Good heavens above. We should never have found him. Well, goodbye, Steve.
Goodbye, Sir Graham. I do hope you'll be all right.
Oh, thanks.
Well, I'll see you later, darling.
Yes, all right. Oh, and give my love to Maisie.
Hello, Gus.
Hello, Mr. Temple. This is a surprise.
Where's Maisie?
Oh, she was here a few minutes ago.
Yeah.
Maisie! Maisie! Oh, this'll fetch her.
Oh, why, hello, Paul.
Hello, Maisie. See you later, Mr. Temple.
Goodbye, Gus. Bye. Well, what's the matter, Maisie? Don't you like night and day?
Oh, I like it all right. But it's not good for my nostalgia.
Well, how's the guest?
Felix?
Yes.
Oh, he's fine. He's a nice old bird. Kind of getting fond of it down here. So, Paul. There may be something to this Egyptology.
No, Maisie, no. Well, I'd better go upstairs and have a word with the old boy.
Okay.
Oh, and before I forget,
Yeah?
there was a girl called Lydia Stain. She was a dancer.
Yeah?
She went over to America in 1929. I believe she worked at the Miami Club on 42nd Street.
The Miami Club?
Hmm. Do you think you can find out anything about her?
Well, that was Harry Van Delson's place.
Well, what does that mean?
Well, Harry's over here. He's on the Sanderson Commission.
Oh. Would he know anything about Lydia Staines?
More than likely.
Have you got his telephone number?
No, but, but he's got mine.
All right. Well, you find out all you can for me, will you, Maisie? That's a good girl.
Leave it to me.
All right, I'll see you later when I've had a word with Reybourn.
Okay, I'll find out all the dope I can.
Now, it's not a bit of use arguing, Sir Felix. There's nothing...
Oh, here's Mr. Temple. He'll answer all your questions, Mrs. Clarence.
Hello, Sir Felix.
Oh, Mr. Temple.
Hello, Mrs. Clarence. Why, what's the trouble?
How long has Sir Felix got to stay here, Mr. Temple? Doesn't seem to me to be any sense in it.
He hasn't got to stay here any longer.
Oh.
You can go the moment you're ready, Sir Felix.
Oh, well. That's something anyway. Oh, dear. Some people are going to get a surprise when they find out that I'm still alive and kicking.
I could never understand why you had to go and hide yourself away and pretend you was dead. Seemed a silly business to me.
It was Mr. Temple's idea, Mrs. Clarence, not mine.
Well, what purpose did it serve? That's what I'd like to know.
It served a very useful purpose.
Why? What do you mean?
What do you mean, Mr. Temple?
I mean that now, beyond any shadow of doubt, I know who is the Marquis. Hello, Bryce. Mr. Story here?
Yes, sir. He's in the drawing room with Mrs. Temple.
Oh, good. Right home. Hello, darling.
Hello.
Hello, Story.
Oh, hello, Temple.
I'm awfully sorry I'm late.
Oh, that's all right.
I think I'd like a drink, my sweet. Have we any sherry?
Sorry.
Oh. Well, then mix me a gin and tonic, those, darling.
Gin and tonic.
Uh-huh. Well, what happened?
Huh? Last night?
Yes.
Oh, well, nothing very much, I'm afraid. I picked up Ross at Wimbledon and then trailed him down to a house in Stepney. He's got a married sister, though, apparently.
How long does he stay there?
Well, I should say about an hour and a half. On the way back to Wimbledon, he popped into one of the corner houses and had a meal. You know, I've got a feeling he spotted me. He's rather shrewd, you know.
Yes. Oh, did you tell the story about the letter, Steve, the one Sir Graham mentioned?
No.
Letter?
Yes. As apparently your friend, the Honourable Charles Surflane, received a second communication from the Marquis.
No.
Oh, yes. In fact, he's supposed to be meeting the Marquis tonight at 8 o'clock in the lounge of the October Hotel.
Are you pulling my leg?
Oh, no, not at all.
But damn it, the Marquis wouldn't walk straight into the October Hotel.
Wouldn't he? Why not?
Well,
I mean, if he thought that Surflane was the only person likely to be there, there wouldn't be the slightest risk in... Excuse me.
Oh, yes, of course.
Hello? Oh, hello, Sir Graham. Yes? Yes, 7:30? Yes, all right. Right, well, pick me up here, will you? Yes, that'll do nicely.
Temple?
Oh, just a second.
Look, ask him if I can come with you.
Mr. Graham, I've got Story with me here at the moment, yes. Yes. Yes, he would, rather. Yes. Okay. Oh, goodbye.
What do you say?
Oh, it's all right. You can come along.
Oh, good.
Be here shortly after 7, will you? And we can have a drink first.
Right, grand. Well, I'd better get cracking. What about Ross? I can pick him up about 2. He usually leaves the yard about then.
No. Leave Ross alone. For today, at any rate.
Oh, yes, okay. I say, Temple, seriously, you don't really suspect Ross, do you? I mean, he's the most extraordinary state of affairs. You might just as well suspect Superintendent Bradley.
I do.
Oh.
In fact, I suspect everyone. I have a highly suspicious nature, haven't I, darling?
Highly suspicious. Here's your gin and tonic.
Oh, thanks, darling. Yes, I suspect there's hardly any gin in this to start with.
Well, I'll see you tonight, then. About 7.
All right, well, I'll come down with you.
Yes. Oh, goodbye, Mrs. Temple.
Goodbye, Mr. Story.
Oh, Steve, darling, before I forget, here's your ticket for tonight.
What ticket?
For the theatre, darling. Oh, I have booked you a seat at the Savoy.
What do you mean you booked me a seat for the Savoy?
Well, for the theatre, darling.
But I'm not going to the theatre tonight. I'm coming with you.
Oh, no, you're not.
Darling, you're not serious.
I am. I'm perfectly serious.
Oh, Paul. What's going to happen at the hotel tonight?
I don't know. I don't know.
That must be the main entrance to the hotel over there.
Yes.
Shall we go in?
No. Let's wait here for a little while.
Okay.
I thought Story was coming along tonight, but he didn't turn up.
What happened to Steve?
Oh, she's gone to the theater. Hello, who's this?
Rather difficult to see. Oh, it's Sergeant O'Brien.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, Mr. Temple.
Good evening, Sergeant.
Anything to report?
Yes, sir. I've been making a few inquiries, sir, on the side, as you might say, sir. And I found out that the hall porter at the hotel is a young chap by the name of Carter. Bertram Carter.
Bertram Carter?
I remember Carter. He was mixed up in that arson affair in Birkenhead about, I think about 4 years ago.
That's right, sir.
Well, hello, here's Bradley.
Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
I want you to join Turner. You know where he is.
Yes, sir.
And keep your eyes skinned. You've got your orders.
Yes, sir.
Did O'Brien tell you about Carter, the hall porter?
Yes.
I don't like the sound of it. He's a dangerous devil.
You haven't seen any sign of Inspector Ross?
No, sir. I'm afraid we haven't.
How many men have you got?
Well, all the entrances are covered, sir. Well covered. There's nothing to worry about.
Good.
Oh, by the way, Bradley, did you see Ross before you left the yard?
No, sir. It's his night off, sir. He went off duty at 4.
Oh, I see.
Well, if you'll excuse me, sir, I'd like to have another word with O'Brien.
Yes, very good, Bradley. Have you ever been in this hotel?
Oh, yes, once. The main lounge is on the second floor, unless... Hello, who's this?
Oh, I'm sorry I'm late, Temple.
Oh, hello, Story.
I saw Ross. I was on the way to your place, Temple, and Ross passed me in a car.
Yes?
I jumped in a taxi and followed him, and he's here, Sir Graham. He drove up to the side entrance.
All right, come along, Sir Graham.
Right. Take your hands off me. You hear what I say? Take your hands off me.
I'm sorry, sir, but
To
my
hell with
orders
your
are
orders.
to...
Take your hands off me, O'Brien.
Yeah, is everything all right, Ryan?
Everything's not all right. My God, it isn't. And if
Yeah,
you
you're
think
under
I'm...
arrest, Ross. And I warn you that anything you say will be taken
Good
down.
heavens,
maybe...
look! Look, that top window, sir, look!
The hotel's on fire!
Look at that top floor. Yes, it must have started there by the look of things.
Take Ross back to the car, Sergeant.
Yes, sir.
I'm not going back to that car. You can't...
Now, don't be a
Now,
damn
look
fool.
here.
Don't be a damn fool, Ross. Go back to the car. Oh, and Ross, for your own information, Lydia Staines is dead.
What?
She died on October the 9th, 1929. 1929, Ross.
1929?
Lydia Staines. Who the devil's Lydia Staines?
We'd better stand clear. Stand back. Stand back. Stand back. Stand back!
Go ahead. This fire looks to me as it's getting out of control.
Things are serious, sir. Several people are trapped. They can't get out.
Take Ross back to the car, Sergeant.
You needn't worry, Sir Graham. I shan't run away. Shall I, Temple?
Hello, Bradley.
Temple. Wait, what is it? What is it? I thought you said Mrs. Temple was at the theater.
Well, of course she's at the theater. Why? Bradley, what is it?
She's in the hotel. She went in 10 minutes ago.
What?
Oh, my God!
Who is the Marquis?
You've been listening to episode 7 of the new Paul Temple serial, Paul Temple Intervenes, by Francis Durbridge, with Carl Barnard as Paul Temple. The part of Steve was played by Bernadette Hodgson, Sir Graham Forbes by Lester Muddett, Price by David Compton, Maisie by Bessie Love, Sir Felix Reybourn by Ronald Simpson, Mrs. Clarence by Mabel France, Roger Story by Sidney Taffler, Inspector Ross by Edgar Norfolk, Superintendent Bradley by Godfrey Baisley, Gus by Hal Bryant, and Sergeant O'Brien by Vincent Curran. The production was by Martin C. Webster.
Temple Intervenes, a new serial play by Francis Durbridge, produced by Martin C. Webster. 8th and final episode, introducing the Marquis.
Paul Temple, the celebrated novelist and private detective, is investigating a series of murders committed by a notorious criminal known as the Marquis. The Marquis has an appointment at the October Hotel. But shortly after Paul Temple and Sir Graham Forbes arrive on the scene, a fire breaks out in the hotel, and Temple immediately...
Several people are trapped. They can't get out.
Take Ross back to the car.
You needn't worry, Sir Graham. I shan't run away. Shall I, Temple?
Hello, Bradley.
Temple, what is it? I thought you said Mrs. Temple was at the theatre.
Well, of course she's at the theatre. Why, Bradley, what is it?
She's in the hotel. She went in 10 minutes ago.
What?
My God.
Let's get round the other side.
For heaven's sake, keep back over there.
Yeah, where the devil do you think you're going?
I've got to get through there. I've got to. My wife's in that building.
Oh, be damn silly man, you can't get through here. Get that jet over. No. Further over to the right. Didn't you hear what I said? You can't get through here. Temple! There's Steve! He's over on the left. Look.
Where?
There.
Oh, thank God for that.
Steve!
Steve!
She spotted us.
Hello, darling.
Steve, you little devil.
Oh, Paul, you look ill. You look as white as a sheet.
And by Timothy, I feel as white as a sheet. Dashing into burning buildings to rescue damsels in distress at my time of life.
You didn't dash into the building.
Well, I was going to.
I'm not so sure.
I'm not so sure myself, as a matter of fact.
Hand clear, please. Now, get that hose across here. I'm sorry to be such a nuisance, sir. Would you mind getting out of the ruddy way? Out!
Go ahead.
One of our cars over here. Follow me.
Now, Steve, what's the big idea? I told you to go to the theatre. I bought you a ticket to go to the theatre.
Yes, I know, but I wanted to satisfy my curiosity.
Your curiosity? About the Marquis?
Yes, I told you he wouldn't turn up. I waited almost a quarter of an hour in that lounge.
But the Marquis did turn up, Steve.
He did turn up?
What do you mean?
Temple, do you know who the Marquis really is?
Yes, Sir Graham. And I'll introduce you to him.
When?
Tomorrow night.
Sir Felix Reybourn? Oh, this is Paul Temple speaking. I'm giving a little party this evening. Just a cocktail party. And I was wondering if you'd care to come along, Sir Felix. Hmm? Yes, I know it is. You've got to try everything once. Yes, all right. 6 o'clock? Oh, and bring Mrs. Clarence. If you'd like to. Well, why not? Yes, all right. Right you are. Goodbye.
Darling, I thought you were never coming.
Did you? Hello, Story. How are you?
Hello. Yeah, I'm all right. I think. What's the idea of this party, Temple?
Do you know Sir Felix Reybourn? Roger Story?
How do you do? Oh, how do you do, sir?
Hello, Mrs. Clarence. You don't look very happy with that dry martini, you know. Can I get you a gin and lime?
Yes, I think I would like a gin and lime,
Oh,
Mr. Temple.
splendid. A gin and lime, darling, for Mrs. Clarence.
Good evening, Mr. Temple.
Hello, Ross. Why, how nice of you to come. What are you drinking?
I have a whiskey and soda, thank you.
You got my telegram, then?
Yes, I got your telegram, Mr. Temple.
Then it's very nice to have you with us, Ross.
Good evening, Ross.
Oh, good evening, Sir Graham.
Ah, Sir Graham, do you know, I've been waiting for you. What would you like to drink?
Steve's getting me a whiskey and soda.
Oh, that's splendid. Over here, darling. Whiskey and soda for Sir Graham. Oh, I was forgetting. I'm so sorry. Sir Graham, you know Sir Felix Reybourn? Sir Felix, Sir Graham Forbes, Inspector Ross.
How do you do?
How do you do?
How do you do?
Here's your drink, Sir Graham.
Ah, thank you, Steve.
Oh, darling, I'm sure Mrs. Clarence would like another gin and lime.
Oh, no. Really, Mr. Temple.
Yes. Hello, Price. What is it?
Superintendent Bradley is here, sir.
Oh, good. Come in, Bradley. Come in.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
I'm sorry I'm late.
Oh, hello, Superintendent.
Oh, hello, Mr. Story.
What would you like to drink, Bradley?
Well, I think I'd like a glass of beer, sir.
You would. That's grand. Now, a glass of beer, Price.
Yes, sir.
Oh, and Price, is the drawing room...
The drawing room is quite ready now, madam.
Oh, thank you, Price.
Oh, good. Now, listen, everybody. There's a very pleasant fire in the drawing room and a number of very comfortable chairs. I want you all, if you will, go in there and make yourselves comfortable. And make yourselves as comfortable as possible. Because...
Because what, Mr. Temple?
Because I'm afraid you're all going to get rather a surprise, Superintendent. Well, I think we all appear to be a little more comfortable now. And we all seem to be here. Anyway, that is everyone I invited. Sir Felix, Mr. Story, Inspector Ross, Superintendent Bradley, Sir Graham, Steve, and myself. Oh, yes, and Mrs. Clarence. I beg your pardon, Mrs. Clarence.
Oh, that's all right, Mr. Temple.
Yes. Well, I expect that you're all wondering why I invited you here this evening. And no doubt you all realize that I had a reason, a particular reason for doing so. Well, last night outside the October Hotel in Dalton Street, Sir Graham asked me a question. He asked me if I knew who the Marquis was, and I said...
You said yes, Temple, and that you...
And that I would introduce you to the Marquis tonight.
Do you mean that the Marquis is actually coming here tonight?
The Marquis is already here, Sir Felix.
You don't mean that he's here in this room? That he's actually one of us?
That's precisely what I do mean, Bradley.
Look here, Temple. I think you owe us an explanation.
Of course I owe you an explanation, Sir Graham. And I intend to give you one. But let me begin at the beginning. Now, let me, in fact, start with suspect number one.
Suspect number one?
Yes, Sir Felix Reybourn.
Really, Mr. Temple, I
Now,
did
Sir Felix,
think
please,
that I...
please. 48 hours before Lady Alice Mapleton was murdered, she paid Sir Felix a visit. 24 hours before the police discovered the body of Carlton Rogers, he had dined with Sir Felix at his house in St. John's Wood. And the last person to see Myron Harwood alive was Sir Felix Reybourn. Now, those are facts. Definite, undisputed facts.
I agree, Mr. Temple, but as I have already pointed out to you, if I were the Marquis, would it be likely...
It isn't likely that you draw attention to yourself, at least not in such a highly incriminating manner. No, I agree, Sir Felix. Therefore, the possibility arose, and a very strong possibility, that someone, the Marquis himself, in fact, was trying to...
Throw suspicion onto Reybourn.
Exactly. Well, now, how did we first of all hear about Sir Felix? How? Well, personally, I heard...
Oh, I told you about him. It was after the car smash, Temple.
Yes, that's quite right, Paul.
Yes. Yes, that's right. Yes, you told us about him, Story. And that brings us to Roddy Carson and suspect number 2, Inspector Ross. When the body of Roddy Carson was discovered at Forest Glen, he had, amongst other things, an envelope in his pocket. And scribbled on the back of the envelope was Sir Felix Reybourn, 492 Montpesson Avenue, St. John's Wood. Now, the first thing that struck me about this was the word Montpesson. It was spelled correctly. I knew instinctively, therefore, that Roddy Carson hadn't written those words on the back of the envelope. He couldn't even spell his own name, let alone the word Montpesson. Now, why were those words written on the back of an envelope? And why was the envelope placed on the body of Roddy Carson?
Presumably to continue to throw suspicion onto
Yes.
Felix.
But that wasn't exactly the only reason, Bradley. I discovered that the handwriting on the envelope was the handwriting of Inspector Ross.
Inspector Ross?
Yes, Inspector Ross. Now, what did that mean? Well, it could only mean one of 3 things. Either Ross was the Marquis, or he was a confederate of the Marquis, or he was a victim. Exactly.
In other words, Ross was being blackmailed.
Yes.
How'd you find out, Mr. Temple?
I'll tell you how I found out, Ross. I made Sir Felix pretend that he was dead. The whole country thought he was dead, including the Marquis. Now, if Sir Felix was dead, this meant that the Marquis had to shift suspicion onto someone else.
And the obvious choice was Ross.
Yes, always providing, of course, that Ross wasn't the Marquis. Well, you know what happened. Suspicion shifted onto Ross almost immediately.
Yes, of course, yes. The day we all thought Sir Felix had been killed, I received a note.
Instructing you to write a letter to the Honourable Charles Surflane demanding £7,000 in the name of the Marquis.
Yes, that's quite right.
Good heavens, Ross, what was he blackmailing you about?
Bigamy. You see, Ross was under the impression that he had committed bigamy, but fortunately for Ross, his first wife, Lydia Staines, died in New York exactly...
But Temple, if Ross isn't the Marquis, then who is?
Can't you guess, Story?
I'm damned if I can.
Look here, Temple. If you don't know who the Marquis is, for heaven's sake, say so.
But I do know who the Marquis is, Bradley. You remember the lorry that smashed into my car?
Yes.
Why do you think they didn't find the lorry driver?
Why, he disappeared.
Oh, no. No. No, that's just the point, Bradley. He didn't disappear.
What do you mean?
Don't you know what I mean, Bradley? I mean the lorry was driven by Roger Story.
What?
Mr. Story.
Why do you think Story turned up at the inn at Bevensey when Slater was killed?
You know damn well why I turned up. To tell you about Sir Felix.
You turned up because you were already in the district and you were frightened. Frightened of being seen.
What about his motor car accident with Slater?
Surely the motor car accident was a fake. He knew perfectly well Slater was going to do...
That's a damned lie.
Then what about the cigarette, the doped cigarette? Who else could have planted that doped cigarette in that box? And you killed your own fiancée, Lady Alice Mapleton, because she found out that you were the Marquis.
Stand back! If anyone moves, God help them.
Put that gun down, Story.
Oh, dear.
Now put that gun down, Story. It isn't loaded.
Isn't it? Well, this one is Mr. Temple. Would you like me to prove it? You see that delightful photograph on the piano? Stand back! Get over there! You too, Bradley. Now listen. If anyone moves from this room, I shall let them have it.
Quickly, Sir Graham.
Oh, darling, do be careful.
Where does that door lead to?
It's an emergency exit. Leads onto the roof. Come on, Sir Graham, come on. Now, Ross, Bradley, get downstairs. Watch the main entrance.
Yes, all right, right on, Ross.
I don't think the skylight's been open for years. That's got it.
He can't have come this way.
I'm not so sure. Difficult to see.
What's that place, Temple? Over there on the right.
Where?
There.
Oh, that's a restaurant. They've got a glass roof there. It's covered with a blackout sheet.
I thought he looked peculiar.
Just a minute.
What is it?
There he is.
Where?
He's on the parapet.
Stay where you are! You hear me, Temple? Stay where you are!
He's trying to get on the other building. If he jumps...
If he jumps, he'll... Story! It's a glass roof! Don't jump!
Stay where you are! Stay where you are, Temple!
Story! For heaven's sake!
My God, he's done it!
like another cup of coffee, Steve? Oh, I say. Do you know, this is a frightful photograph of Sir Graham in the Morning Express. He looks like Frankenstein's grandfather.
Paul, darling, will you answer my question?
Which question? You know, you've been popping questions at me all night. I never had a wink of sleep.
Well, why did you tell Story to follow Ross?
Why did I tell Story to follow Ross? For obvious reasons, my sweet. I wanted Story to believe that I was under the impression that Ross was the Marquis.
Yes, but why did Story always push himself to the fore? I mean, at the beginning, he made a lot of inquiries about the Marquis. He was always here or with Sir Graham.
Story created a part for himself, and he played it very well. He was almost the amateur detective. And who suspects the amateur detective? Who, Steve? Why, no one. Except, of course, the amateur detective.
You sound very chirpy this morning.
I feel very chirpy this morning, darling.
Paul, how did you find out that Lydia Staines was dead?
Maisie found that out for me. You know, you can't beat Maisie when it comes to research.
Yes. Here's your coffee.
Thank you, darling. I say, there's a great pity about that photograph. The one of your mother.
Yes, the bullets completely ruined it.
Oh. Yeah, you know, I was actually fond of it.
You beast.
I say, this coffee is very good.
Paul,
Yes?
there's something I want to ask. Was Maisie Dalloway a very old friend?
Darling.
Well, I just want to know.
No, my dear Steve. Maisie was not a very... Oh, hello, Price. What is it?
Oh, this letter has just arrived, sir. It was brought by a special messenger.
Oh, thank you. Thank you very much.
What is it, Paul?
Timothy, why, that's the limit. Why, it's an invitation to a wedding. And she wants me to be the best man.
Who wants you to be the best man?
Why, Maisie.
Maisie?
Yes, dear. Maisie's getting married. On Tuesday, December the 29th, at St. George's, Hanover Square.
But who to?
Can't you guess?
The remotest idea.
To Sir Felix Reybourn. What? Do you know, there must be something in this Egyptology after all.
Well, that's the last episode of the new Paul Temple serial, Paul Temple Intervenes. And here is Paul Temple.
Hello, listeners. Well, you can all sleep safely in your beds. Roger's Story, alias the Marquis, is now safely out of the way. But I'm sorry if some of you thought the Marquis was Superintendent Bradley.
Well, I was convinced it was Ross.
You were? Dear, I thought that announcers never made mistakes. Well, once again, many, many thanks for listening. And for the present, at any rate, cheerio. Good night, Joan.
Good night, Mr. Temple. And keep out of mischief.
Well, that's always rather difficult with a wife like Steve. Well, I'll be seeing you.
That was Paul Temple. In other words, Carl Bernard. The part of Steve, his wife, was played by Bernadette Hodgson. Sir Graham Forbes by Lester Muddett. Roger Story, alias the Marquis, by Sidney Taffler. Inspector Ross by Edgar Norfolk. Superintendent Bradley by Godfrey Baisley. Sir Felix Reybourn by Ronald Simpson. Mrs. Clarence by Mabel France. Price by David Compton. Hart by Hal Bryant. And Banks by Philip Garston Jones. The Paul Temple plays are written by Francis Durbridge and produced by Martin C. Webster.